Chapter 1542. Senior Yi. Upon hearing this incomparably familiar voice, Fang Ziyue's pretty face was instantly stunned. A look of disbelief surged in her beautiful eyes. They're finally here? At that instant, regardless of whether it was the people on the ground or Luo Xiu, Jiang Li and the others in the sky, all of them abruptly looked at the golden light in the sky. Under everyone's gazes, a black-haired, black-eyed young man wearing a black dragon robe flew over with his hands behind his back. The young man's eyes were bright and full of killing intent. No one dared to look him in the eye. Why is it him? After seeing the young man's face, Jiang Li and the Heavenly Jade Holy Maiden's expressions changed drastically, as if they had seen a ghost. The two of them could not be more familiar with that godlike figure. During the trip to Tianyuan City, if they had not given in time and Yi Chen was not in the mood to kill, they would have survived. Just over 2 hours ago, it was this same figure that descended from the sky and killed Su Mingqi and Su Mingqi from the Panwu Immortal Sect and Taichu Daoist grounds. He's Miss Fang's foreign aide? Jiang Li, in particular, was like a ghost. He was so shocked that he almost shouted, "Sent he mad Southern Yi? How did he become Miss Fang's helper? He's the external help that Miss Fang invited? He's here. I didn't expect him to really come. Is this person crazy? Could it be that he doesn't know that an inescapable net has long since been laid down here, and that Luo Xiu, Jiang Li, and the others want to join forces to deal with him?" The moment Yi Chen appeared, everyone was stunned. Countless gazes immediately gathered on him, and many people's eyes were filled with disbelief. As Yi Chen appeared, Luo Xiu, who was initially disappointed, revealed a look of ecstasy. "Yi, I didn't expect you to really come. I have to say that I admire your courage." "Senior Yi, leave quickly." After coming back to her senses, Fang Ziyue's eyes reddened. She was touched and could not help but urge, "They won't kill me. Quickly leave. Don't bother about me." She did not expect Yi Chen to go there even though he knew there was danger. He was willing to take such a huge risk to save her. How could she not be touched? "Where are we going?" "Don't worry, seeing that you have such courage, I will let you die a quick death." Luo Xiu laughed coldly as he suddenly crushed a jade talisman in his hand. Boom! A series of loud explosions rang out, and the void trembled endlessly. The endless power of the formation was activated at that moment, and then turned into a huge energy barrier that enveloped the entire mountain. "Yi, this is what I've prepared for you." Luo Xiu looked at Yi Chen with a ferocious expression. "Are you satisfied? To be able to make us go through so much trouble for you, even if you die, you will have no regrets. Have you said enough?" However, Yi Chen looked at him coldly. "Since you're done, go to hell." "Insolence!" Luo Xiu's gaze turned cold as he raised his hand and grabbed at the air. A sword that caused one's heart to palpitate with monstrous baleful energy appeared in his hand. As soon as the sword appeared, it released extremely dense baleful energy. It devoured all the airflow in the surrounding area, causing the temperature to drop by dozens of degrees in an instant. Obviously, this was a magic treasure that was not of a low grade. Mystic Yin Sword. Someone seemed to have thought of something and immediately cried out in shock. "This is Tian Xiezi's primordial spirit treasure, the Mystic Yin Sword. I didn't expect Tian Xiezi to give it to Luo Xiu." Following his words, the world was in an uproar. Primordial spirit treasure. That was something exclusive to Void Refinement old monsters. Who would have thought that it would appear in Luo Xiu's hands now? From this, it could be seen how much Tian Xiezi doted on Luo Xiu. With this sword, who below the Void Refinement stage could fight Luo Xiu? Even Jiang Li and the rest would have to retreat, right? "Ye go to hell." Luo Xiu laughed maniacally as he activated the Mystic Yin Sword and took a step forward. The space around him instantly turned into a black storm. It was condensed from baleful energy, and it was like a black hole that wanted to devour everything. "Die." Luo Xiao activated the mystic Yin sword with all his might and slashed at Yi Chen's head ruthlessly. He wanted to kill Yi Chen with a single attack. Only then would he be able to intimidate the others. However, to his shock, Yi Chen did not dodge the sword at all. Instead, he extended his fingers and blocked the tip of the mystic Yin sword with 2 fingers. No matter how hard he tried, he could not swing it at all. How is this possible? At that moment, Luo Xiao's eyes widened as if he had seen something unbelievable. For some reason, an ominous feeling suddenly surged in his heart. It's a good sword, but unfortunately you're too useless. Yi Chen's eyes were like knives. He flicked his finger lightly, and it turned into a peerless saber gleam that whistled out and landed heavily on Luo Xiao's body. Luo Xiao screamed and was sent flying. Both of his arms were severed, and his voice was extremely shrill. Heaven and earth shook. At that moment everyone was dumbfounded. Luo Xiao, who held a primordial spirit treasure, was severely injured by Yi Chen with a single attack? The most shocked person was none other than Fang Ziyue. She knew Luo Xiao's strength. He was said to be able to fight an early-stage void refinement stage cultivator. Although it was an exaggeration, it was not far from it. However, with the help of the mystic Yin sword, he was still defeated so miserably? Impossible, this is impossible. Luo Xiao, who had stabilized his body, had both of his arms severed. Blood flowed everywhere, and his expression was extremely deranged, as if he had been provoked by something. Previously, he thought that it would be easy for him to kill a nobody like Yi Chen. He did not expect to experience such a blow. How could he accept that? In his madness, Luo Xiao's hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, "Brother Luo, Fang Qingwu, Heavenly Jade Holy Maiden, what are you guys waiting for?" As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt 2 bone-piercing killing intent coming from behind him. He turned around abruptly and saw Jiang Li and the Heavenly Jade Holy Maiden attacking him together. The killing intent was extremely dense. Fang Qingwu, who had been watching from the side, was shocked when he saw that. "Jiang Li, are you guys crazy?" Jiang Li and Fang Qingwu were clearly the ones who had been invited by Luo Xiao, but now they had turned against him and joined forces to kill Luo Xiao. Everyone was also taken aback by this. Under everyone's gaze, a golden pagoda appeared above Jiang Li's head. Resplendent killing intent shot straight at Luo Xiao. "Brother Luo, you almost caused the 2 of us to fall into eternal damnation. You really deserve to die." "Why?" Luo Xiao roared. The Heavenly Jade Holy Maiden's red caltrop swept out like a scarlet snake sweeping through the 9 heavens. "Why? You idiot, how dare you offend Mad Southern Yi, fellow Yi? You even deceived the 2 of us to join forces with you to fight fellow Yi. Tell me, do you deserve to die?" End of this chapter. Chapter 1543. Mad Southern Yi. After the Tianxian Holy Maiden's voice reverberated in the air, the world suddenly fell into a brief dead silence. Countless people were dumbstruck. Mad Southern Yi Fang Ziyue was stunned at first, but she quickly reacted. Her pretty face was filled with shock. "Why Senior Yi is why Mad Southern Yi?" At that moment, countless people in the world paled. Mad Southern Yi. Even in the depths of Yin Su, these 3 words were still like thunder in their ears. He was someone who destroyed the Taichu dojo alone, and even fought with the heavenly venerable of Taichu's divine will. Ever since Yi Chen returned to Earth, someone had counted the number of soul formation cultivators who had died in his hand. There was no lack of people who were at stage soul formation. However, the person standing before them was actually Mad Southern Yi? How could they not be horrified by this? On the other hand, Luo Xiao shuddered violently a few times. There was extreme shock in his eyes when he looked at Yi Chen again. "Why, you're Mad Southern Yi? How is this possible?" "Impossible, this is impossible!" He seemed to have gone mad, and his eyes were trembling. He had always treated Yi Chen as an unknown person. He had never thought that Yi Chen was the famous killing god, Mad Southern Yi, who had shocked Yin Su. If he had known that this would happen, he would not have dared to take revenge on Yi Chen even if his master and his father died, let alone his master's death. Run, I must run. At that moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Then, he retreated without hesitation, his face filled with fear. Although he was extremely confident in his abilities, he was not confident that he was Yi Chen's match. As he retreated, he spat a mouthful of blood. He activated the blood escape technique without hesitation. He turned into a blood shadow and dashed away at an unimaginable speed. The blood escape technique was extremely fast. It was actually several times faster than the speed of lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had traversed over 100 kilometers. Do you think you can escape? Yi Chen took a step forward, and ripples appeared in the air under his feet. His body disappeared into the air instantly, and he was even faster than the blood shadow. Shockingly, it was spatial shrinking. When Yi Chen appeared before the bloody shadow, he stretched his palm out almost at the same time and slapped the bloody shadow hard. When the palm landed, an earth-shattering rumble rang out, and a terrifying storm was formed in the air. Wow! Luo Xiao let out a shrill cry, the blood shadow on the surface of his body collapsed on the spot, and his expression was incomparably astonished. This escape technique of his was obtained from an ancient cultivator's abode. It was extremely profound. It could be said that even an early void refinement realm being would find it difficult to catch up to him in a short period of time by sacrificing his own blood essence. However, Mad Southern Yi actually used some kind of divine ability to catch up to him in an instant. He was so scared that his soul almost left his body. Without saying a word, he once again activated his blood escape. At this moment, his body was wrapped in a thick layer of blood mist. From afar, it looked like a red sun was falling at an extremely fast speed. However, in the next moment, Yi Chen's figure appeared in front of him again. Yi Chen's palm fell, shattering the void and landing hard on him. Rumble! Luo Xiao's entire body smashed down heavily from the sky, and he forcefully flattened a mountain. His entire body was like glass that had been shattered, and he was riddled with holes and horrifying bloodstains sprayed out from his body. Yi Chen landed quietly and looked at him coldly. Blurred. Luo Xiao spat a mouthful of blood heavily. His eyes trembled as he looked at Yi Chen. Mad Southern Yi, I didn't know it was you at first. Let me go. As long as you let me go, I swear I won't provoke you again. If it were anyone else, Yi Chen's attack earlier would have killed them long ago. Fortunately, he had a treasured armor in his body that blocked most of the power. Yi Chen said calmly, Hand over your soul blood and I'll spare your life. Luo Xiao's expression changed slightly when he said that. Impossible. I, Luo Xiao, was born extraordinary. How can I let someone else control my life? He knew very well that once he handed over his soul blood, it would mean that he was Yi Chen's slave from now on. Yi Chen could take his life in an instant. Is that so? Yi Chen used his finger as a sword. Endless sword gleams surged out immediately as if they had transformed into a peerless immortal sword that slashed at Luo Xiao. At that moment, Luo Xiao's eyes were filled with shock. It was the first time he had sensed the aura of death at such a close distance. He could not help but say immediately, I'm willing to submit, I'm willing to submit. As soon as he finished speaking, the terrifying killing intent completely vanished, and the terrifying might from before also vanished into thin air. Congratulations on keeping your life. Yi Chen said coldly, hand over your soul blood. Luo Xiao collapsed to the ground, his entire body drenched in cold sweat. He forced a smile and said, to be honest, I've already handed my soul blood to my master. Yi Chen's eyes flickered as if he did not believe him. Subsequently, he pointed a finger at the spot between Luo Xiao's brows. His divine consciousness poured in like a flood. A moment later, He could not help but look at Luo Xiu again and say, "Your master controls your soul blood? My master doesn't trust anyone." Luo Xiu smiled bitterly and said, "He took in many disciples before me, but I was the only one who survived in the end. Moreover, he took away my soul blood. His goal was none other than to make me loyal to him." "Don't worry." Yi Chen suddenly smiled. "I have a technique that allows me to control you without taking your soul blood. You just have to open your mind and don't resist. If you have any evil thoughts, your soul will be destroyed in an instant and you'll die." With that, he formed a strange seal and landed it between Luo Xiu's brows. It faintly formed a seal that restricted one's soul. Almost at that moment, Luo Xiu felt as if his life no longer belonged to him. It was as if Yi Chen could kill him with a single thought. Thinking to this point, he was even more shocked. He did not dare to have any unrealistic thoughts. After controlling him, Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back. He looked around and said, "Now, tell me your real purpose for coming to the desolate god's tomb." Based on his understanding of this person, he did not seem to be purely helping Fang Qing Wu win. He definitely had an ulterior motive. Luo Xiu did not dare hide anything and said in a deep voice, "I came to the desolate god's tomb to search for the great emperor's seal under my master's orders." Yi Chen frowned. "The great emperor's seal?" As if sensing his confusion, Luo Xiu hurriedly explained, "When the great desolation old man charged into the forbidden area back then, he actually stole an extremely important item from the emperor's tomb. This item was left behind by the great Emperor Xianyuan before he stepped onto the heavenly path. Together with the Xianyuan sword, it's known as the great Emperor Xuanyuan's keepsake. Once you obtain these two items, you'll be able to control the entire Yin ruins." Chapter 1544. So this token is the great Emperor's seal? Yi Chen's eyes flickered when he heard that. Clearly, he did not expect the desolate god's tomb to hide such secrets. At the same time, he did not expect the great Emperor Xianyuan to leave behind so many tricks before he stepped onto the heavenly path. "That's right," Luo Xiu said respectfully. "The purpose of the Heavenly Yuan Trading Association's trip is also for the great Emperor's seal. They naively think that only they know this secret." At this point, he seemed to have thought of something and said, "Master, you might not know this, but the Emperor's tomb in the forbidden area is about to open. There's the great Emperor's divine weapon, the Xianyuan sword. Rumor has it that as long as one obtains the great Emperor's seal, they will have a chance of obtaining the Xianyuan sword's acknowledgement. From the looks of it, the Heavenly Yuan Trading Association and the other forces must have the same goal. They want to obtain the great Emperor's seal and the Xianyuan sword and control the great Emperor Xuanyuan's plan back then." Yi Chen's eyes flickered. "If that's the case, I'll be able to touch the suppressed immortal soul and immortal body at a close distance." Thinking to this point, he could not help but glance at Luo Xiu. "Go. Pretend to escape from me and hide in the Yin ruins for now. Help me at the crucial moment." That was the reason why he kept Luo Xiu alive. This person's talent was not bad. Coupled with the fact that he had a grudge with Tian Xiezi, he could be considered a chess piece. "Alright." Luo Xiu immediately understood Yi Chen's intention. Without any hesitation, he hammered his chest and charged into the sky with the blood escape again. After watching him leave, Yi Chen took a good look at his surroundings. He wiped away all traces and rushed to where the giant mountain was. On the mountain, everyone raised their heads in anticipation. They stared in the direction where Yi Chen and Luo Xiu had left. The discussions were endless. In the air, Fang Ziyue, Jiang Li, and the rest had complicated expressions. They did not say a word. Clearly, they had yet to recover from the shock. Only Fang Qing Wu's heart was in turmoil, worrying about gains and losses. He was the one who invited Luo Xiu. At the same time, he was involved in the operation against Yi Chen. Now that Yi Chen's identity was exposed, he could not help but worry if the former would vent his anger on him. A moment later, Fang Ziyue glanced at Jiang Li and the rest. Shenxi Jiang, how did you know Senior Ye's identity? She was extremely puzzled. Since Jiang Li and the rest knew Yi Chen's identity, why did they promise Luo Xiu to capture him and force him to come here? No matter how one looked at it, it was a little contradictory. Jiang Li forced a smile when he met her gaze. Ms. Fang, you might not know this, but before this, we didn't know that the external help you've invited is Mad Southern Yi. After saying that, he immediately told them about the Void Soaring Dragon Pill in Tianyuan City. After hearing that, Fang Ziyue's beautiful eyes widened. So that rising Void Dragon Pill was snatched away by Senior Yi, and Hong Ye was also killed by Senior Yi. Looks like Senior Yi is indeed Mad Southern Yi. Fang Ziyue took a deep breath and said slowly, actually, I should have guessed it. Both of them have the surname Yi and their combat strength is extremely terrifying. I wonder if Luo Xiu managed to escape. Jiang Li glanced at the horizon and said with a worried expression, if we let him escape, then wouldn't we become fellow Daoist Ye's targets to vent his anger on? After hearing that, the Tianxian Saintess and Fang Qingwu's expressions changed drastically. Fang Qingwu rolled his eyes, then walked to Fang Ziyue's side and said with a smile, Sister Ziyue, what happened before was my fault. I hope you won't take it to heart. What? I didn't think there would be a time when cousin would give in. Fang Ziyue sneered. Weren't you quite capable before? You looked down on everyone because you had Luo Xiu. Now you're afraid? Fang Qingwu's smile froze. He was secretly furious, but he still forced a smile and said, I admit that I was in the wrong before, but that was also because I was bewitched by Luo Xiu. I hope Sister Ziyue can plead for me with fellow Daoist Yi. After saying that, he gritted his teeth and said, as long as Sister Ziyue can plead for me, the Orange faction is willing to give up on this trip to the Barren God's tomb and help you at the same time. Fang Ziyue's expression immediately changed when she heard that. Clearly, she did not expect him to be willing to make such a huge compromise. She secretly sneered, but she still said calmly, You think too highly of me. If Senior Yi really wants to make things difficult for you, it's useless no matter what I say. I believe Sister Ziyue can do it. Fang Qingwu smiled awkwardly, but a fierce look flashed across his eyes. Soon, a golden beam shot over and revealed Yi Chen's face. However, this time, no one dared to speak. Countless gazes looked at him with fear, as if they were looking up at a god. Jiang Li and the rest's hearts sank when they saw that Yi Chen had returned alone. Fang Ziyue went up to him and said, Senior Yi, Luo Xiu? Yi Chen said calmly, This person's escape technique is extremely shocking. He escaped. As soon as that was said, countless uproars broke out, and the faces of Jiang Li and the rest suddenly turned pale. Plop! Following two loud thuds, Jiang Li knelt heavily before Yi Chen and said bitterly, Fellow Yi, I didn't know that you were the person I was going to deal with. Please forgive me. Fellow Yi, if we knew it was you, we wouldn't have dared to agree to Luo Xiu's invitation even if we had 10 guts. After what happened last time, the Heavenly Jade Holy Lady had become obedient. Yi Chen glanced at the two of them coldly. In the end, his gaze landed on Fang Qingwu. His sharp gaze caused the latter to shiver immediately. Sensing his unfriendly gaze, Fang Qingwu's lips trembled as he said, Be fellow Yi, this is a misunderstanding. He knew very well that if he dared to say no today, it was very likely that he would be beheaded here. After all, the person before him had killed many gods' sons of holy lands. Senior Yi, please do me a favor. Fang Ziyue pursed her red lips slightly, wanting to plead for Fang Qingwu. Bleck. Suddenly, she felt a flash before her eyes, as if a resplendent saber gleam had flashed before her. Then, Fang Qingwu's eyes widened. He covered his neck with his hand and looked at Yi Chen in disbelief. Why you, plop? Before he could finish speaking, his head was separated from his body. Even though he was dead, his eyes were still wide open, as if he had died with a grievance. He did not expect Yi Chen to really dare to kill him. On the other hand, Yi Chen's slash had destroyed his soul directly. It could be said that his soul had been destroyed. At that moment, the world fell into dead silence. Countless people watched this scene in disbelief. The most shocked were Jiang Li and the Heavenly Jade Holy Lady. Fang Ziyue's body froze as if she was scared silly. One had to know that Fang Qingwu was a member of the Heavenly Essence Chamber of Commerce. Yi Chen looked at Fang Ziyue calmly. What did you say just now? Chapter 1545. In an instant the entire sky darkened. 5 black shadows with scarlet blood energy and black energy whizzed out and wrapped around Yi Chen. Ghostly wails and wolf howls could be heard. If one took a closer look, they would realize that they were 5 black ghosts that were more than 30 meters tall. They had green faces and fangs, and their eyes were blood red. They looked extremely ferocious. The 5 black ghosts were carrying a huge mountain. The mountain seemed to be 300 meters tall. As they threw it violently, it fell from the sky and smashed at Yi Chen. Before the huge mountain landed, the ground was already shaking violently. There was a deafening shattering sound in the air. Fang Ziyue was so shocked that she almost screamed. The old man from the Shadow Demon sect smirked when he saw that. He had refined the 5 ghosts moving mountain technique for a long time and rarely showed it to others. However, he could not care less for this void refinement puppet today. A ferocious gleam flashed through his eyes as he thought to this point. It was as if he could see Yi Chen being crushed into meat paste. However, Yi Chen merely slapped at the huge mountain above him casually. Rumble! Then, an earth-shattering rumble was heard. In front of everyone's eyes, the huge mountain that seemed to be hundreds of meters high suddenly exploded, turning into invisible powder accompanied by a terrifying energy. At that moment, the old man's body suddenly stiffened. His eyes widened as he looked at Yi Chen in disbelief. Whoosh! Before he could react, purple-gold lightning arcs suddenly shot out from Yi Chen's palm. Subsequently, they landed on the 5 black ghosts. Bang, bang, bang! As a heart-wrenching scream rang out, the 5 black ghosts were completely annihilated by the purple-gold lightning arcs. They vanished completely. Divine Devil Bane Lightning? The old man from the Shadow Demon sect was extremely shocked. Lightning was an object of extreme yang, and it was the bane of all yin and evil. The divine Devil Bane Lightning was even more powerful, and all yin and evil beings were rendered completely powerless before it. Never had he thought that Yi Chen would cultivate the divine Devil Bane Lightning. At that moment, he suddenly sensed a strange sound above his head. He abruptly raised his head, and what he saw was a giant palm that covered the sky. Bang! The gigantic palm fell on the body of the evil demon sect's old man. He didn't even get the chance to let out a blood-curdling scream. He was smashed into a pile of meat on the spot. Dead silence. The scene was as silent as death. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at Yi Chen in fear. They were horrified. The strength of the old man of the evil demon sect could be considered as one of the strongest among them. However, he had died in the hands of this man so easily. Isn't that method a little too shocking? Go! Yi Chen glanced at Fang Ziyue calmly. The latter snapped back to her senses and caught up to him immediately. After watching the two of them leave, the crowd that remained in the same place came to their senses. Then, a series of gasps broke out. A cultivator said with a pale face, "Who is this person? How come we've never heard of it before? Such ability is comparable to that of Huang Fuyu, right? Could it be that the void training stage used some kind of technique to enter the desolate god's tomb?" An hour later, Yi Chen led Fang Ziyue all the way to a black building complex. The buildings seemed to be black altars. At that moment, the altar was already filled with countless figures. There were also various entrances around it. Clearly, they had walked out from other tunnels. Huang Fuyu. Yi Chen's gaze landed on a silver-haired figure in the crowd. That figure was surrounded by the stars. He was like a god that had descended to the mortal world. He had an extraordinary bearing. As if sensing his gaze, Huang Fuyu lifted his eyes subconsciously. His gaze passed through the crowd and landed on Yi Chen. Before Yi Chen could speak, Huang Fuyu smiled at him first. "Brother Yi, I've been waiting for you for a long time." As his voice fell, countless gazes immediately looked at him from within the altar, and the emotions contained in those gazes were not limited to just one. The same thought flashed through most people's minds. Clearly, they were curious about Yi Chen's identity to make Huang Fuyu say that. On the other hand, most people recognized Fang Ziyue, who was next to Yi Chen, at first glance. Yi Chen's expression remained unchanged under such gazes. He led Fang Ziyue closer to the altar and said calmly, "Why are you waiting for me? Brother Yi." Huang Fuyu smiled lightly and said, "This is the main tomb of the great wilderness elder. However, I can't find his coffin here. Instead, there are many strange altars." Yi Chen could not help but lift his eyes to take a closer look at the altars upon hearing that. The altars were ice-cold black, as if they were made of black iron. There were many stone pillars around the altars, and there were many mysterious runes engraved on them. Above everyone's heads, there was a huge 8 trigrams pattern that contained yin and yang energy. It faintly resonated with the altar below. Chaotic yin-yang formation? Yi Chen's eyes flashed as he guessed the arrangement immediately. Before he could think too much, he heard Huang Fuyu say, "Brother Yi, we've studied it for a while and suspect that this altar is a formation. I'm afraid only by activating this formation can we see the great wilderness elder's coffin." A man in a red robe couldn't help but ask, "But what's the way to activate it?" Old Man Great Desolation is extremely cunning. Given his character, there must be a lot of killing intent hidden within. At this time, a voice suddenly came from afar. "What is this?" Everyone looked over and saw a black-robed woman standing beside an altar. She was looking curiously at a green jade bead the size of an infant's fist. The next moment she couldn't help but reach for the green jade bead. "Don't touch it!" Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu spoke in unison almost at that moment. However, the woman's hand still touched the green jade pearl in the end. The pearl shook slightly before it shattered with a cracking sound, and then a black shadow suddenly flashed out from within it. The woman was caught off guard and was struck by the black shadow. Her body exploded, and a mist of blood seemed to nourish the black shadow. In an instant, the black gas violently exploded, turning into countless black gas that filled the air. Yi Chen's eyes gleamed. "Demonic energy!" Bang, 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 another violent and crisp sound rang out, and the green jade beads on the altars exploded at the same time. Countless black shadows attacked everyone. "Ah!" Countless screams immediately rang out in the entire hall. As the blood mist sprayed out, it turned into monstrous demonic energy that enveloped the entire hall. Rumble! At the same time, the entire hall began to shake violently. The altars shook the most violently. Endless demonic energy surged out from under the altar. Under the demonic energy, there was a faint heart-palpitating roar, as if something terrifying was about to appear. Chapter 1546. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Along with the explosions of the altars, the entire hall had practically turned dark in an instant. The monstrous demonic energy that was like a ferocious ghost swept everything. The evil aura spread out, causing everyone's expression to change. "Ah! What is this? Save me, save me!" Under the majestic demonic energy, many people who were shrouded in the demonic energy immediately let out heart-wrenching screams. Subsequently, they exploded into a bloody mist, nourishing the demonic energy that was already majestic. Uproar. Meanwhile, the survivors retreated in all directions in shock. Subsequently, true origin energy exploded from all of their bodies at the same time, consolidating a thick layer of true origin energy barrier on the surface of their bodies. However, to their horror, the demonic energy could look down on the energy barrier. In a short while, many people were attacked by the demonic energy and turned into a bloody mist. "What the hell is this?" Fang Ziyue screamed in fear. At that moment, many evil demonic energy charged at Fang Ziyue like a tidal wave. It seemed like her scream earlier had attracted the attention of the demonic energy. Fang Ziyue's face turned extremely pale at the sight of that. Bang! Just as the demonic qi was about to hit her, a wide arm suddenly landed on her shoulder, then lifted her up and pulled her back over 100 feet. It was Yi Chun who had attacked. Yi Chun glanced at the demonic energy that was gushing out and waved his sleeve. An energy barrier consolidated on the surface of his body immediately, covering Fang Ziyue and himself within it. His energy barrier was different from the others. It was purplish gold in color, as if purplish gold lightning was exploding on the surface of his body. As soon as the terrifying demonic energy touched the purplish gold energy barrier, it turned into green smoke and dissipated. The remaining demonic energy seemed to have a life of its own as it swept past him automatically. As many people died tragically one after another, someone finally saw how extraordinary Yi Chen was. Many people rushed toward him immediately. "Fellow Taoist, please save me. I'm from the Taichu dojo." A sinister-looking old man had a pleading look on his face. "Taichu dojo?" Yi Chen's eyes flashed. He waved his sleeve and sent the former flying immediately. "I can save anyone but the people from Taichu dojo." "You?" That person had a look of hatred on his face, as if he wanted to curse out loud. However, he was instantly wrapped up by the demonic qi and turned into a mist of blood. The rest hesitated after hearing what he said. In the end, someone could not help but run to Yi Chen as if he wanted to seek his protection. Yi Chen did not reject that. Within a few breaths of time, more than 10 people gathered around him. Without a target, the Grand Devil Qi turned its attention to Huang Fuyu and a young man in a red robe, as if it wanted to devour them completely. Before everyone's eyes, Huang Fuyu snorted coldly. A golden light suddenly shot out from the top of his head. The golden light was like an alms bowl. It emitted a dazzling divine light and hovered above his head. Under the dazzling divine light, the surging demonic qi was actually unable to advance at all. There were many people standing behind him, and judging from their attire, they were most likely members of the Xianyuan 8 clans. Yi Chen was not surprised at all when he saw that primordial spirit treasure? Since Huang Fuyu was the reincarnation of the Huang Fu clan's patriarch, how could his methods be so simple? On the other hand, a red command flag had suddenly appeared in the red-robed young man's hand. Terrifying divine flames were raining down from the wide flag, and then they enveloped the young man. The flag was clearly a fire-type primordial spirit treasure. As a result, Yi Chen and the other two's abilities were self-evident among everyone. Demonic Qi, this is demonic Qi. The red-robed young man activated the red flag. His gaze focused as he shouted, "The demonic energy in the demonic land has invaded the outside world. Life? This is the demonic energy in the demonic land?" As his voice fell, everyone trembled violently. The demonic land was a forbidden zone for life. It was the most dangerous place in Insu. The demonic energy that enveloped everything had caused countless people to bleed on the spot. Even void refinement old monsters were no exception. What they did not expect was that the demonic energy in the demonic land had invaded the outside world and was hidden in the desolate god's tomb. Damn it, why is there demonic energy in the desolate god's tomb? Someone roared with bloodshot eyes. Could it be that the great desolate old man set up such a trap to lure us in? "I'll withdraw and not participate in this matter," a cultivator revealed a timid expression. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire hall shook violently. Then, the stone doors that led to this place all fell down, sealing all the exit. Looking at the stone doors again, they were actually made of 10,000-year-old iron. They were extremely heavy and extremely hard. Seeing this scene, many people could not help but feel despair. The exit has been sealed. Are we going to be trapped here until we die? The surging demonic energy was still rising. Everyone present knew very well that regardless of whether it was Yi Chen, Huang Fuyu, or the red-robed young man, their true origin energy would be exhausted sooner or later. Once their true origin energy was exhausted, it would be the end of everyone. Rumble! At this moment, countless black demonic shadows shot out from the bottom of the violently shaking altars like terrifying beasts. What's that? Looking at this sudden scene, everyone's expressions tensed up. Under everyone's gazes, the black shadows seemed to be condensed from extremely pure demonic energy. Although their bodies were illusory, they were humanoid, and all of them emitted an extremely evil aura. It's a demon! Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu spoke at the same time. Huang Fuyu glanced at Yi Chen and said with a serious expression, "If I'm not wrong, these are demons born from the demonic energy. In other words, there are many terrifying existences hidden in the demonic soil." "That's right," the red-robed young man also said. "These demons are even more terrifying than demonic energy. Looks like this so-called desolate god's tomb is actually a demonic lair." In less than a few breaths of time, more and more demons gathered in the hall. These existences widened their scarlet eyes and pounced at Yi Chen and the other two like a swarm of locusts. They were like fearless ants as they frantically used their demonic energy to attack the protective barrier of the three of them. Under such an impact, the divine flame on the red chess piece in the red-robed young man's hand began to dim. Clearly, it could not hold on for long. The red-robed young man's expression changed slightly. He could not help but look at Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu. "Guys, there are too many demons. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Otherwise, we'll definitely die." "May I know what plan you have?" Huang Fuyu frowned. End of this chapter. Chapter 1547. Yi Chen looked at him too. Although he was not afraid of the demonic energy and monsters, he still brought Feng Ziyue with him. Moreover, he did not want to expose his strength in front of so many people. Under everyone's gazes, the red-robed young man calmly said, "My name is Feng Wuxie. In my opinion, we should open up the barrier and let some of the monsters in. All of you should join forces to kill them. Only then will we have a chance of survival." After he said that, everyone fell into silence. Countless people's eyes flickered as if they were thinking about Feng Wuxie's words. "Fellow Taoist Feng is right," someone immediately said. "Instead of wasting time like this, why don't we open the defense and let some monsters in? With so many of us working together, we will definitely be able to kill them. This way we can reduce the pressure on the three of you." "That's a good idea." The others nodded. Huang Fuyu nodded and said, "Sure, let's do as you say, fellow Feng." He could not help but turn his head to look at Yi Chen after saying that. "What do you think, brother Yi?" In an instant, everyone looked at Yi Chen. Even Feng Wuxie was no exception. Yi Chen said with a faint smile, "Of course, I have no objections." "All right, since that's the case, let's begin." Feng Wuxie nodded slightly, then formed a seal, and a crack appeared on the divine flame barrier released by the red flag in his hand. At that moment, a monster took the opportunity to attack and pounced at the person behind Feng Wuxie. "Attack! Rumble!" Before Feng Wuxie could speak, the cultivators behind him immediately attacked. All sorts of divinities and spells landed on the monster. The monster was shattered on the spot. Everyone was overjoyed when they saw this. Huang Fuyu did not want to fall behind. He tore apart the divine light barrier that enveloped this person and released no less than 3 monsters at once. The 3 monsters were killed just like before. Yi Chen did the same. He tore open the energy barrier and let the monsters in. He did not attack. Instead, he asked the people behind him to contribute their strength. After all, his obligation was only to protect Feng Ziyue's safety. As for the people behind him, he had nothing to say about being able to save them. As time passed, the number of monsters in the hall began to decrease at a speed visible to the naked eye. What surprised everyone the most was that as the countless monsters were killed, Even the demonic qi that enveloped the hall began to weaken. In the end, the devil qi and monsters vanished, and the entire hall returned to its original tranquility. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu hesitated for a moment. They could not help but put away their primordial spirit treasures and began to quickly recover their primordial qi. Someone heaved a sigh of relief. Those terrifying things are finally gone. Yi Chen frowned and looked around after dispelling the energy barrier. Subsequently, he secretly spoke to Feng Ziyue through voice transmission. Be careful. Don't be careless. Feng Ziyue's heart sank. Although she didn't understand the meaning behind his words, she still nodded her head with a solemn expression. Now that there was no longer any danger, many people immediately went to the sealed exit and attacked the stone door with all their might. However, to their despair, the numerous stone doors were utterly impenetrable, and they were unable to move them in the slightest no matter what they did. Swoosh! Right at that moment, before everyone's eyes, the altars began to explode one after another. Suddenly, countless rays of black light shot out from the terrifying might. Within the endless black light, an old figure slowly appeared. The old figure slowly walked out, emitting an extremely evil aura. It was as if a demon god had crawled out of that area. What's that? Someone was uneasy. Looking at the old figure, the terrifying aura emanating from its body caused everyone's hearts to palpitate. Late-stage void refinement. Yi Chen's calm gaze finally changed. He said softly, late-stage void refinement. As soon as he said that, the entire hall suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Late-stage void refinement. One had to know that the strongest among them was only at stage soul formation. However, the evil existence before them was actually at the late-stage void refinement. The Great Desolation Elder, Feng Wuxie, stared fixedly at the old figure. His throat trembled violently a few times before he suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "He's the Great Desolation Elder." What? He's the Great Desolation Elder? Didn't the Great Desolation Elder die? How did he become like this? At that moment, everyone's expressions changed completely. After all, the person standing before them was the owner of the desolate god's tomb, the Great Desolation Elder, the existence who had killed his way into the demonic land by himself. Huang Fuyu said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, this Great Desolation Elder has probably been corroded by demonic energy. To be precise, he's comparable to a late-stage void refinement demon." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire place fell deathly silent. Hee. At this moment, an ear-piercing shriek suddenly came from the Great Desolation Elder's mouth. "Kid, you have good eyesight. You can actually tell the situation of the Great Desolation Elder." Then, the Great Desolation Elder, who was wrapped in monstrous demonic energy, stared coldly at everyone with a pair of blood-red eyes. Back then, the Great Desolation Elder barged into the demonic land to challenge that feathered beast and failed. He was heavily injured and wanted to return to the outside world, but he didn't expect to be entangled by me. I tried my best to make him submit to me, but this old thing was extremely stubborn. He would rather die than be demonized. Moreover, he set up many methods to suppress me after his death. His face suddenly became incomparably sinister. In reality, he also succeeded and suppressed me for many years. If not for the desolate god's tomb's seal being attacked and you all barging in, I'm afraid that I would have been sealed for who knows how many more years. At this point, he could not help but look at everyone and laugh sinisterly. Therefore, in return, I will demonize all of you, especially the three of you. You're qualified to become my demon puppets. He looked at Yi Chen, Huang Fuyu, and Feng Wuxie. The three of you have pretty good aptitude. I believe you'll be even more amazing after being demonized. The moment that was said, everyone's expressions changed. They did not expect there to be such a secret, nor did they expect that it was their intrusion that released this demon. At this moment, a faint voice sounded in the hall, You're just a demon that has been suppressed for many years. How dare you spout nonsense here? It was Yi Chun who spoke. He looked at the Great Desolation Elder with a faint smile. If I'm not wrong, you're at most a demon general, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 1548. Demon General? Everyone in the hall was stunned when they heard Yi Chen's words. Clearly, it was their first time hearing of such an existence. Only Huang Fu Yu's deep eyes flashed with splendor. Master, you must give this demon general to me. At the same time, an impatient voice sounded in Yi Chen's mind. If I devour it, I'll be able to cultivate to become a demon general and increase Master's combat strength. Du Tian Devil King? Yi Chen said softly and could not help but smile. If you hadn't spoken, I would have forgotten about your existence. He had rescued a strange prisoner from the Purple Firmament Immortal Sect's prison. This person claimed to be a strand of demonic consciousness that had betrayed the Devil World's Du Tian Devil King. Yi Chen had ignored him previously. He did not expect this person to sense the existence of the demon general before him, so he spoke for the first time. Good job, brat. Old Man Great Desolation's pupils constricted slightly when he heard what Yi Chen said. He looked at Yi Chen coldly again. I didn't expect you to see through my background with a single glance. I'm getting more and more interested in you. Brat, if you're willing to submit to me now, I can spare your life. I'll also grant you the supreme cultivation method of the demon clan to forge an immortal body. He glanced at Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu. The same goes for the two of you. Otherwise, I'll wipe out your divine consciousness and refine you into my demon puppet. Arrogant. Feng Wuxie's gaze focused as he sneered. I've never bowed to anyone in my life. So what if you're a Zenith Heaven immortal, let alone a demon general? He could not help but look at Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu after saying that. Both of you, if you want to submit to this demon, I won't force you. If you're unwilling, join forces with me and fight him to the death. Do you think the dark things in the demon soil are worthy of me submitting? Huang Fuyu smiled faintly. His long silver hair was like the Milky Way. Today, I'd like to experience the methods of a demon like you. Subsequently, he looked at Yi Chen by instinct. Brother Yi, no matter what grudges we have in the past, I hope we can let go of our past grudges and fight the enemy together. Yi Chen said calmly, since that's the case, let's fight. Boom! In an instant, countless terrifying storms were set off in the hall. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu both erupted with vast pressure and true origin. Wait! Right at this moment, a flustered voice rang out, Lord Demon General, I'm willing to submit to you. Please spare my life. A sinister-looking old man took a few steps forward and looked at Old Man Great Desolation with a pleading expression. A cultivator immediately said angrily, Old Man Ingyuan, you, sorry? Old Man Ingyuan's expression was indifferent as he said, My original intention of cultivating was to live longer, so I'm not willing to accompany all of you in death. As his words faded, the eyes of many people in the hall flickered incomparably, before endless voices rang out. Lord Devil General, I am also willing to submit. And me. In just a few short breaths, more than half of the people stood up one after another and suddenly changed sides. The atmosphere suddenly became extremely tense. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu's expressions were extremely ugly. Clearly, they did not expect such a huge turn of events. Hee hee. Old Man Great Desolation laughed sinisterly. Lowly ants, do you see clearly that this is the general trend? Kill them. With that, he suddenly waved his hand and immediately gave the order to the many cultivators who had chosen to submit to him. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, the entire hall was instantly replaced by a dense killing intent and a dense aura. It was as if the temperature had suddenly dropped by dozens of degrees. Everyone, sorry for the offense. Old Man Ingyuan turned around and looked at Yi Chen and the rest coldly. He smirked coldly. Subsequently, a dense killing intent erupted from his body like a flood. Rumble, as all sorts of tremors rang out, a great battle broke out. Many divinities and spells collided crazily in the hall, and there were screams mixed in. Feng Ziyue's face was pale. She moved closer to Yi Chen by instinct. Clearly, she did not expect things to turn out like this. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu acted as if they did not see this scene. Instead, their gazes were fixed on Old Man Great Desolation. This was because they knew that no matter how intense the battle around them was, the one who truly decided the outcome was still Old Man Great Desolation. "Guys, what are you waiting for?" Feng Wuxie let out a long roar. Resplendent divine flames suddenly bloomed from his palms, bringing with them an enormous force of fire as they attacked Old Man Great Desolation. The resplendent divine flames actually melted the space in the hall to the point that it was about to shake, as if it could not bear the weight. "Looks like this person specializes in fire-type martial arts." Yi Chen's eyes flashed. Old Man Great Desolation acted as if he did not see that terrifying attack. He revealed a disdainful expression and stood on the spot without moving. Boom! As the attack landed on his body, the terrifying might that erupted caused the entire hall to shake violently. At the same time, the people who were fighting stopped at the same time and stared fixedly at the center of the shocking storm. A massive sea of flames rose in that direction, as if it wanted to devour Old Man Great Desolation. Feng Wuxie's expression was solemn as he remained motionless. In the next moment, the sea of fire suddenly disappeared and was replaced by overwhelming demonic energy. It was as if a hole had been smashed through the earth, releasing too much evil aura. Amidst the monstrous demonic energy, a figure that was over 60 meters tall appeared, giving off a palpitating feeling. Feng Ziyue said with a trembling voice, "What is that?" As the demonic energy dissipated, a gigantic demonic creature was exposed in the air. The demonic creature had 2 heads and 4 arms. Its face was ferocious, and its fangs were bared. It was extremely terrifying. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air at the sight of this, and their faces were filled with shock. Yi Chen said, "It's that demon general's main body. Foolish humans, since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, then I'll have no choice but to make your souls scatter." The gigantic demon spoke in human language, and its demonic energy surged into the sky. Clang! An earth-shattering sword hum rang out, sounding like a dragon's roar in everyone's ears. Then, a silver sword appeared in Huang Fuyu's hand. The silver sword was like an incomparably white dragon, and its sword intent was oppressive. Just the sword chi that it emitted made many people around feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Attack! Huang Fuyu slashed with his sword. In the air, sword chi was like a rainbow. A white rainbow-like sword chi that was 30 meters long swept out from his hand and headed straight for the demonized Old Man Great Desolation. Feng Wuxie was unwilling to fall behind. He clasped his palms together and condensed a scarlet flame spear in the air. The moment the spear appeared, the space seemed to have turned into a sea of fire. End of this chapter. Chapter 1549. Yi Chen took a deep breath in as his eyes flashed. He knew very well that even though the existence in Elder Great Desolation's body was only a demon general, it was still at the late-stage void refinement stage. He was indeed unable to fight the former alone. Since that was the case, he could only join forces with Huang Fuyu and the rest. Thinking to this point, he immediately took a step forward. It was simple and direct, and he threw a punch. Endless divine might swept out, as if it could destroy everything. At this moment, the 3 of them joined forces, and their might was vast as they pressed towards Elder Great Desolation. The fluctuations caused everyone's expressions to change. "Guys, his life gate is on his 2 heads." At the same time, Yi Chen said slowly, "There are demon cores in those 2 heads. You just need to shatter the demon cores to destroy him." "Alright." Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu nodded in succession. Their attacks suddenly changed, and they directly attacked Elder Great Desolation's two heads. Boom! Elder Great Desolation suddenly raised his head, and a demonic sound screamed out from his mouth. The demonic sound was strange and terrifying. The pair of demonic eyes on the head suddenly opened, and two demonic energy dragons shot out from his eyes, turning into a demonic energy barrier that protected his head. Yi Chen had clearly pointed out its weakness. Rumble! At the same time, Feng Wuxie and Huang Fu Yu's attacks all landed on the Devil Chi Light Shield. In an instant, the Devil Chi Light Shield was completely submerged. However, in the next moment, their expressions changed drastically because their attacks were useless against the demonic energy barrier. Boom, boom, boom! At that moment, Yi Chen's attack landed. His fist shook the heavens. Everyone seemed to see a rising sun blossoming in the hall. It was extremely dazzling. Then, the monster that Elder Great Desolation had transformed into let out a muffled groan and took a few steps back. Bang! At the same time, the demonic chi light shield formed by one of its heads shattered with a loud bang. B*****. Elder Great Desolation revealed a furious expression as he glared at Yi Chen. I didn't expect you to cultivate your body to such a level. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fu Yu's attacks were useless against it. However, Yi Chen managed to repel it with a single attack. As such, it was obvious who was stronger among the three of them. He was not the only one. Even Huang Fu Yu and Feng Wuxie took a good look at Yi Chen. Countless splendor flashed through their eyes. If we were facing the Great Desolation Old Man when he was alive, it might be difficult to deal with him. Fortunately, we are facing you. Yi Chen smiled lightly. You're a demon after all. You can't use cultivation techniques, so you can't unleash the Great Desolation Old Man's ability. If the Great Desolation Old Man were to come back to life, not to mention attacking, even if he released a trace of pressure belonging to the late void refinement stage, no one present would be able to move at all. Even if your body is strong, you will still die today. Old Man Great Wilderness roared. As a dark light flashed, his 4 arms charged at Yi Chen like layers of ghost. Good timing! Yi Chen activated his true origin energy and took the initiative to meet the 4 demonic arms. He used his fingers as a saber and turned them into a peerless saber gleam that sliced through the void directly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, boundless saber intent swept out with Yi Chen as the center. His long black hair fluttered as if he was possessed by a god or demon, killing everything in his way. Bang, 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 the peerless saber gleam landed on the 4 demonic arms, immediately causing the sound of metal colliding. It was accompanied by dazzling sparks, and 2 of them were cut off first. Meanwhile, the remaining 2 demonic arms pointed at Yi Chen's heart as if they wanted to pierce through it. Boom! At that moment, with 2 loud bangs, Feng Wuxie and Huang Fu Yu attacked. Their attacks landed directly on the 2 heads of the Great Desolation. The Great Desolation Old Man's expression changed slightly. He immediately stretched out his hand, and 2 demonic arms separated to affect Feng Wuxie and Huang Fu Yu. Yi Chen was waiting for that opportunity. He swept his fist and destroyed half of the Great Desolation Old Man's body directly. Too powerful. Countless people were shocked when they saw that. That was an existence comparable to a late-stage void refinement stage cultivator. Half of his body was destroyed by Yi Chen's punch. How terrifying was his physical strength! Everyone knew very well that if it were not for Yi Chen, the situation would not be like this today. Roar, roar, roar. After suffering such a heavy injury, the Great Desolation Old Man roared, "Lowly humans, congratulations on successfully angering me." As soon as he finished speaking, the remaining half of his body that was destroyed by Yi Chen changed again. Countless red gleams shot out from his body. The huge demonic body turned corporeal once again. What was even stranger was that the eyes of the 2 heads that were enveloped by the demonic chi light barrier slowly closed. Countless dark red flakes of light were condensing at an astonishing speed below them. In the end, it condensed into the figure of a person. As the blood-colored light flickered non-stop, his flesh and bones began to flicker with a strange luster. Countless blood-colored rays of light quickly reconstructed his skin on the surface of his body. In just a few breaths of time, pieces of fresh muscles formed on the surface of his body. On the other hand, the demonic body that Yi Chen had destroyed began to shrink rapidly. It seemed like it was being absorbed by the human figure in the demonic energy barrier that covered his head. "What is this?" Someone swallowed his saliva and said. The scene before them was simply too strange and evil. Yi Chen stared fixedly at the changes. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He said immediately, "Disintegration and transformation. This is the supreme secret technique of demonic techniques. The heavenly demon disintegration technique." "Stop him." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly took a step forward and let out a long howl before he immediately struck out with an unparalleled 10th annihilation fist, and it crushed the surrounding space. Following his words, Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu took a step forward. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu were stunned at first, then they suddenly reacted. They could not help but suck in a breath of cold air and suddenly attacked Old Man Great Desolation. As the saying went, the way of the heavens was to take away excess and make up for deficiency. As for the way of the devil, there was an end to life and an end to destruction. Therefore, there was an end to life and an end to creation. The heavenly demon was born. In short, the heavenly demon disintegration technique was a demonic technique that relied on burning blood essence to increase one's combat strength. Clearly, the existence in Old Man Great Desolation's body planned to burn Old Man Great Desolation's blood essence to kill Yi Chen and the rest at all costs. At that moment, everyone was surprised to discover that Old Man Great Desolation, who was solving the question quickly, suddenly trembled violently. Then, his body started to tremble, and a struggling expression appeared on his face. Old Man Great Desolation suddenly spoke, and an incomparably old voice came from his mouth. "Miluo, you want to sacrifice me? Dream on." As soon as he finished speaking, Old Man Great Desolation's expression distorted again, becoming incomparably sinister. "Old Man Great Desolation, I didn't expect you to have such a trump card?" End of this chapter. Chapter 1550. Old Man Great Desolation, I didn't expect you to have such a trump card. At this moment, in the hall, the demonic body that Old Man Great Desolation had transformed into was struggling violently. Old Man Great Desolation's face also twitched continuously, sometimes becoming extremely ferocious, and sometimes becoming an old face. The monstrous demonic energy in the surroundings also became incomparably violent along with this change. By Luo, I predicted this day before I died, so I left some tricks up my sleeves. I didn't expect it to be of use. The voice of the old face that Old Man Great Desolation had transformed into was incomparably hoarse. Clearly, he was trying his best to fight for control of the body with the demon general in his body. This sudden scene caused the entire hall to fall deathly silent. Everyone looked at the unforeseen event in disbelief. At the same time, Yi Chen and the other two chose to remain silent by instinct. Feng Zue bit her red lips tightly as she looked at Old Man Great Desolation, who had undergone an unexpected change. Could it be that Old Man Great Desolation isn't dead? Her question was what countless people were thinking. If Old Man Great Desolation was really not dead, then wouldn't their actions today anger this existence who had once killed his way into the forbidden area? No. Yi Chen shook his head lightly and said, "Old Man Great Desolation died a long time ago. This is just a trick that he left behind back then. It can be understood as a self-sealed spiritual consciousness." He also admired Old Man Great Desolation for being able to predict so many things before he died. As expected of a tribulation stage almighty. Damn it! The old face suddenly changed into a ferocious face. Old Man Great Desolation, you damn it! You actually set up such a method in your body. After saying that, his body trembled even more frequently. If one took a closer look, they would discover that countless violent demonic energy seemed to want to spread out from his body. However, no matter what, they could not break through the shackles of Old Man Great Desolation's body. It was as if a formation had been set up in his body. By Luo, give up. Old Man Great Desolation's aged voice sounded again. I've waited for so many years for this day. If you didn't use the heavenly demon disintegration, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to you. Unfortunately, you've fulfilled my wish. Perhaps this is fate. No! The demon general roared again and again. You were no match for me when you were alive, not to mention the remnant soul you left behind after you died. Tao Heart Seed Devil, form. Accompanied by ghostly wails and wolf howls that shook the entire hall, Old Man Great Desolation's eyes turned extremely black at a speed visible to the naked eye. They were as deep and unfathomable as black holes, mixed with an evil aura. The so-called Tao Heart Devil Seed was to plant a strand of devilish intent within another's body. In this way, even if the person's body died, the strand of devilish intent could be revived. Meanwhile, the Dutian Devil King that Yi Chen had put into the 8-divisional pagoda was the same. This Tao Heart demonic seed was a secret technique of the devil race, and it would only be used as a last resort. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, the demon general wanted to use the Tao Heart demon seed, planting a demonic thought in the Tao heart of everyone present so that they could be revived. However, what made it despair was that this secret technique could not be projected to the outside world at all, let alone implanted in people's bodies. It roared again and again, impossible, this is impossible. Mei Luo, just give up. Old Man Great Desolation's voice sounded. Since I've set up such a method, I've calculated all your responses. Everyone watched this scene in shock and fear. They were shocked by the revival of Old Man Great Desolation's remnant soul. At the same time, they admired the former's methods. At that moment, an unusually hoarse voice suddenly sounded in Yi Chen and the other two's minds. My 3 little friends, please lend me a hand. Feng Wuxie asked doubtfully, are you really Old Man Great Desolation's remnant soul? Old Man Great Desolation was extremely talented back then. Even though he had died long ago, everyone had some respect for him. I was impulsive back then, and I've left behind the consequences today. Old Man Great Desolation said bitterly, my only wish is to eliminate this demon general. Please help me. I don't have much time left. How should we help you? Yi Chen's eyes flickered. Feng Wuxie and Huang Fuyu's expressions changed when they heard that. Don't worry, my 3 little friends. Just do your best to cooperate with me. I guarantee that I won't endanger your safety. As soon as he finished speaking, a fire dragon suddenly soared into the sky from his body. The fire dragon was extremely dignified, and its entire body blossomed with resplendent divine flames. Every scale was like sharp armor. As soon as it appeared, Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu felt the vital energy and blood in their bodies surge violently. Especially Huang Fuyu, his blood was almost gushing. Almost at that moment, the entire Yin ruins was shaken. In the demon god forest, a scholar's eyes shot into the sky and he said with a smile, the Emperor's seal still appeared? Wuhan, I'm looking forward to your choice. In the immortal tower of Tianyuan City, a handsome man stood high up and muttered, is it mad Southern Yi or Huang Fuyu? Behind him stood a peerless beauty that could topple nations. In the depths of Yin ruins, a mysterious being that looked like an ancient giant ape looked at the endless demonic energy. I can sense the aura of a great emperor. I think the lost emperor's seal has appeared. What's that? In the desolate god's tomb, under everyone's gazes, the fire dragon stood in the air and glanced at Old Man of Great Desolation with its dignified eyes. Then, its body swayed and turned into a blazing sun that seemed to be condensed from resplendent divine flames. The blazing sun emitted a divine might that was like an ocean, dazzling everyone. Some even subconsciously wanted to kneel on the ground. Emperor Seal, this is the great Emperor Seal. Huang Fu Yu blurted out subconsciously, and his expression finally changed slightly. The moment that was said, the expressions of many people present changed. Their eyes erupted with dazzling greed. The seal of great Emperor Xianyuan. Yi Chen's eyes flashed. Is this the Emperor's seal? Bastard, bastard! At the same time, a voice of disbelief and even fear came from Old Man of Great Desolation's mouth. Old Man of Great Desolation, you actually sacrificed your remnant soul to activate this Emperor's seal just to kill me. My 3 young friends, please infuse true origin energy into this old man's body. Old Man of Great Desolation's voice was like thunder. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Wuxie was the first to respond. He erupted all the true origin energy in his body and poured it into Old Man of Great Desolation's body. Huang Fuyu hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. Fellow Great Desolation, since you're so determined and willing to bury yourself as a demon, how can I not help you? Yi Chen chuckled softly and extended one hand. As the space distorted, true origin energy that was like a golden ocean poured out from his body. Buzz, as the true origin energy of the 3 of them overlapped, it was like a flame had fallen into a pot of boiling oil, causing the space to immediately go berserk. At the same time, the Emperor's seal that circled above Old Man of Great Desolation's head shone brightly. Vast divine flames pressed down, as if they covered the sky and earth, destroying everything. As the divine flames descended, the countless demonic energy on the surface of Old Man of Great Desolation's body seemed to have met its natural enemy and turned into nothingness. Damn it! Under such an unforeseen event, Demon General Mi Luo finally felt a fatal threat. He immediately roared, "It won't be that easy to kill me." Chapter 1551. Demonic Wheel Corrosion. In an instant, monstrous demonic energy spread out from Old Man Great Desolation's body. Then, it condensed into a black ball of light above his head. From afar, it looked like a black sun. Obviously, he was going all out. He wanted to use the demonic wheel corrosion technique to cover the terrifying divine flames brought by the Emperor's seal. Mi Luo, just give up. You've lived for so long, it's time to end it. Old Man Great Desolation's remnant soul had a determined expression as he desperately burned the last bit of his remnant soul to activate the divine might in the Emperor's seal. Boom, boom, boom. With his sacrifice, the Emperor's seal once again erupted with tens of thousands of rays of divine light. At the same time, dragon roars rang out endlessly, and the divine sound was deafening. 8 dragon-shaped divine flames descended and directly pierced through the black ball of light that enveloped below. In the end, it landed on Old Man Great Desolation. No, I can't die here. When Demon General Mi Luo sensed the destructive aura, he finally could not help but roar, I can't accept this. You lowly humans, the kings of the devil world will descend upon the demonic land, flatten your plane, and enslave you forever. Boom! As the 8 dragon-shaped divine flames descended, all the demonic energy in the hall was wiped out, including Old Man Great Desolation's body. Amidst the miserable and shrill cries, Old Man Great Desolation's last trace of relief sounded. It's over. His last trace of remnant soul was about to be destroyed. At that moment, a ray of divine light suddenly landed on his remnant soul. At the same time, Yi Chen's voice sounded, What other last wishes do you have? Why don't you tell me? I'll do it for you if I have the chance in the future. Although Old Man Great Desolation came from the outer realm, he was considered a big shot in the spirit world when he was alive. For the sake of a small plane like Earth, he did not hesitate to leave behind such a method to eliminate this demon general. Under the nourishment of the divine light, Old Man Great Desolation took one last look at the hall as if he was reminiscing. Subsequently, his old voice sounded in Yi Chen's mind, If you have the chance to ascend to the spirit world in the future, please visit my granddaughter in the Great Desolation world. I left quietly back then. I wonder how that child is now. Young friend, my granddaughter's name is Shui Yao. Yi Chen thought to himself, I'll remember that. Old Man Great Desolation glanced at everyone and looked at the Emperor's seal above his head that had lost its divine glow. Eventually, his gaze landed on Yi Chen and the other two. Forget it, I'll fulfill your wish. He waved his sleeve as soon as he was done speaking. Yi Chen and the other two felt their vision blur. Subsequently, they entered a hazy space. The space was boundless and chaotic. It was difficult to see beyond 5 meters. Yi Chen frowned slightly as he was inside. He extended his divine consciousness immediately in an attempt to see through the space. There's no need to look. This is the space inside the sovereign seal. At that moment, a faint voice suddenly sounded in Yi Chen's mind. Then, a figure appeared before Yi Chen. That figure seemed to be a black-clothed old man with a mustache. Coupled with his eyes that were like mung beans, he gave off a shifty-eyed feeling. Yi Chen frowned. Your great Emperor Xianyuan? Hee, although I want to say yes, I don't have the gut. Meeting his gaze, the black-clothed old man chuckled. I'm just the artifact spirit of this Emperor's seal. I once followed the great Emperor. You can call me Old Fan. Yi Chen said, Why did you take me into this Emperor's seal space? Of course, I saw something. Old Fan grinned and looked at him with a faint smile. There's a familiar aura on you. If I'm not wrong, it's the aura of the great Emperor's confidant back then. Yi Chen frowned. Confidant? Back then, the great Emperor was peerless. Naturally, there were countless suitors. Among them, there was a woman who was the most determined. In the end, she even sacrificed herself for the great Emperor to seal that ancient immortal. As he stroked his mustache, he began to gossip. Then, he smiled bitterly. Forget it, there's no point in talking about this. Now let's talk about my conditions. A fixed price. He extended 3 fingers with a smile. From now on, you need to find 3 pure yang spirit veins for me every year for me to devour. Yi Chen's eyes flickered. Why? Old Fan rubbed his hands and said while smiling, That's why I'm willing to follow you. Yi Chen smiled too. Did I say I want you to follow me? Old Fan was speechless. At the same time, in the other 2 Emperor seal spaces, Huang Fuyu knelt on the ground respectfully and said to Old Fan, Old Fan, I'm a member of the Huang Fu family of the 8 Xianyuan clans. Please choose me, help me obtain the Xianyuan sword, inherit the great Emperor's inheritance, and eliminate everything. He had planned for this day for a long time. He had even severed his cultivation base and dropped from void refinement to perfected soul formation. This was because the Emperor's seal and the Xianyuan sword were both items of the great Emperor, and they were symbols of status. Once he obtained them, not only would he obtain the recognition of the Inshu realm guardian, he would also obtain the great Emperor's inheritance and know where the ancient immortal was sealed. At that moment, Old Fan was not convinced by his previous wretched appearance. He said with a dignified and indifferent expression, Since you're the descendant of the great Emperor, there's no need to be so polite. Before deciding who the Emperor's seal belongs to, you have to write a word in front of me. Old Fan, please tell me what word it is. Huang Fuyu nodded slightly. Old Fan stroked his mustache and coughed. The word human. Although Huang Fuyu was extremely puzzled, he still nodded his head. He took a deep breath, used his finger as a brush, and wrote the character human in the air with vigorous strokes. Old Fan squinted and took a few looks before nodding to himself. Meanwhile, in the space where Yi Chen was, Old Fan almost knelt to Yi Chen. Little brother, please do a good deed. Please write a word. My mission will be completed after you're done. He really lost his temper with Yi Chen. Countless people dreamed of being the inheritor of the Emperor's seal. However, when it came to Yi Chen, it was like a rock in the toilet. It was smelly and hard. Yi Chen could not argue with him. He wrote the word human casually and said, Old thing, let me out. Don't make me angry. Old Fan stared at the word he wrote. The cynical smile on his face disappeared immediately. He then bowed to Yi Chen solemnly. "Greetings, master." The corner of Yi Chen's lips twitched slightly. "What's going on? Old man, did you extort me?" Old Fan chuckled. "Of course, master passed the test left behind by the great emperor." In another space, Huang Fuyu said with a ferocious expression, "Why? I'm the descendant of the great emperor Xianyuan. Why did you choose an outsider?" His gentle and handsome face no longer existed. No one knew what he was feeling at that moment. He thought that he was determined to get the emperor's seal. Never did he expect that it would benefit Yi Chen, his former enemy. Chapter 1552. It's not like that, it's definitely not like that. Old Fan, tell me it's definitely not like that, right? Huang Fuyu was on the verge of roaring, his handsome face a little distorted. He had planned too much, and the desolate god's tomb was the most crucial step. Back then, the great desolation old man had barged into the forbidden area to challenge the realm guardian and stolen the emperor's seal. As for the emperor's seal, it was related to whether he could obtain the Xianyuan sword's recognition in the emperor's tomb in the future, as well as the respect of the realm guardian. The next step would be the suppressed immortal soul and immortal body. Now, the emperor's seal had been obtained by someone else, and it was his former enemy. How could he accept that? Old Fan stood quietly in front of him, watching him vent the dissatisfaction in his heart with a calm expression. Finally, he said, "This person passed the test left behind by the great emperor. What's wrong with me choosing him?" "Test? What bullsh *t test?" Huang Fuyu sneered. "Everyone wrote one word. How can we judge that he passed and I didn't? I'm the direct descendant of the great Emperor Xianyuan. I'm the most qualified to inherit the Emperor's seal, including everything else." "Old thing, you're biased. I can't accept this." His silver hair billowed furiously, as if it was slanting. "I've always been fair and selfless. I've always followed the instructions left behind by the great Emperor back then." Old Fan placed his hands behind his back and stared straight at him. He said arrogantly, "Moreover, I'm the artifact spirit of the Emperor's seal. Why should I submit?" After saying that, he waved his sleeve and chased Huang Fuyu out. In the desolate God Palace's main hall, the great desolation old man's remnant soul had long dissipated. When Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu appeared again, they realized that the hall was empty. Fang Ziyue and the rest were long gone. Killing intent appeared in Huang Fuyu's eyes as soon as he saw Yi Chen, who was flustered and exasperated. "Brother Yi, congratulations. I've calculated everything, but I didn't expect to be the final victor." Yi Chen's eyes flashed when he sensed the killing intent on him. "Why? You can't hide any more?" As he spoke, he walked toward the former. "Do you want to fight me again? If this Yi can kill once, I can kill a second time." Seeming to have sensed his killing intent, the Emperor's seal artifact spirit Old Fan could not help but sigh. "Let him go. He is a direct descendant of the Emperor after all. If you kill him, the Xianyuan sword and the World Guardian won't be able to plead for him." Yi Chen could only withdraw his killing intent and glanced at Huang Fuyu. "Get lost." "Very good." Huang Fuyu's expression changed a few times, but he dared not attack Yi Chen in the end. "Brother Yi, so what if I win this round? The game between us has just begun." After saying that, he turned around and shot away. He knew very well that he did not have a good grasp of Yi Chen's ability. Coupled with the help of the Emperor's seal, he would only be asking for trouble if he attacked now. However, Huang Fuyu had not lost yet. And the Xianyuan sword. As long as he obtained the Xianyuan sword's recognition, everything would change. After watching him disappear, Old Fan emerged from the Imperial seal and said with a complicated expression, "Thank you. Acknowledge me as your master." Yi Chen smiled lightly and bit his middle finger. A trace of golden blood fell onto the Emperor's seal in the air immediately. Boom! Roar! In an instant, the world shook violently, as if the sky was about to collapse. The dragon's roar shook the surroundings, and resounded throughout the entire Een ruins. The imperial seal turned into a crimson dragon that carried monstrous divine might and soared into the sky. It floated above the entire Een ruins. A pair of dignified eyes looked down on everything. Eventually, it shot into Yi Chen's body. Almost at that moment, the entire Een ruins saw such a spectacular and shocking scene. What's that? The Imperial Seal has appeared. It looks like it has acknowledged its master. The appearance of the Imperial Seal means that the Imperial Tomb is about to appear. I'm afraid there's going to be another bloodbath in Een ruins. Who is it? Who exactly can obtain the Imperial Seal's acknowledgement? Huang Fuyu? Or is it Panwu Immortal Venerable, the Heavenly Jade Holy Land, or even the Taichu Dojo? Outside the desolate god's tomb, everyone, including Feng Tianqiu, the Heavenly Venerable of Taichu, and the rest, saw this scene. Their eyes flashed with shock and ecstasy. At the same time, in the demon god forest, Qianqiu Wuhan looked at the enormous crimson dragon's shadow in the sky quietly, and a faint smile appeared on his lips. Congratulations. Xinxian Tower. Ling Long, who was dressed in white, held a lantern in her hand. A hint of surprise flashed across her beautiful face. He succeeded? In the end, Qianqiu Wuhan has high standards. The extraordinarily handsome path master of human desire, Chu Zhongtian, looked at the sky and muttered, Ling Long, get ready. After being silent for so many years, it's time for me to move my muscles. The endless demonic earth was evil and strange. Outside the huge palace that looked like a shrine, a mysterious god covered in long hair looked at the crimson dragon in the sky excitedly. The Imperial Seal, it's the Imperial Seal. The Imperial Seal has been activated. It's just activation. Look at how excited you are. The toad lying on his shoulder yawned, and said in a bored manner, What we should be more concerned about is who activated the Imperial Seal. Whoosh! At this moment, a ray of divine light suddenly flashed through the endless demonic energy. If one looked closely, they would discover that it was a golden willow leaf. The willow leaf ignored the demonic energy and landed in front of the mysterious creature, as if it was alive. It's him. Seeing this, the mysterious god was stunned at first, then he said in disbelief. He obtained the Imperial Seal's recognition? How is that possible? Ah! The golden toad on his shoulder immediately laughed out loud. Second brother, I told you long ago that I thought more highly of that guy, but you just wouldn't listen. It shouldn't be like this. The mysterious creature looked at him coldly. I'll report to the boss right now. At the exit of the desolate god's tomb, countless figures stood in the air, looking at the exit in the distance with burning anticipation. Even the heavenly lord of Primordium and the other void-training old monsters were among them. Below them, countless heads were moving, and they were anxiously waiting. Someone in the crowd below couldn't help but whisper, Who do you think will obtain the Imperial Seal this time? I think it's very likely to be Huang Fuyu of the Xianyuan 8 clans of China. Someone said without even thinking. After all, the Xianyuan 8 clans are the direct descendants of great Emperor Xianyuan. It's the easiest to obtain the Imperial Seal's recognition. Upon hearing this, many people nodded in agreement. Bulsh *T. However, there were still people who disagreed. A disciple of the Taichu Dojo sneered and said, If that's the case, why haven't the Xianyuan 8 clans obtained the Imperial Seal after so many years? Chapter 1553. In my opinion, it's possible for anyone who enters, and there's a high chance that it will be obtained by the people of the 5 great Holy Lands. After all, the foundation of the 5 great Holy Lands is beyond our imagination. Stop arguing. The absolute beginning heavenly venerate in the void suddenly spoke when he saw that the atmosphere was a little intense. His voice was like thunder. The world immediately quietened down. The Tai Chu Heavenly Lord nodded in satisfaction before turning to Lei Yunzi with a hint of a smile on his face. Old man Lei Yun, Huang Fu Yu has quite a high reputation among the Xian Yuan 8 races. Lei Yunzi replied in an indifferent manner, "It's just the juniors trying to make us proud." The grand beginning Heavenly Sovereign's eyes flashed. "Why don't we make a bet?" Lei Yunzi's brows furrowed slightly as he asked coldly, "What do you want to bet?" "Let's bet on whether someone from the Taichu Dojo will obtain the Imperial Seal, or Huang Fuyu from the 8 Xianyuan clans." The primeval Heavenly Lord smiled faintly as if he was certain of his victory. "If my primeval Taoist right obtains the Tharch Seal, then you have to agree to a condition of mine. Conversely, I will agree to a condition. Fellow Taoists here can bear witness." Fang Tianqiu, Elder Lu of the Heavenly Jade Holy Ground, and the 3rd Duke of the Great Jiang Divine Dynasty, looked at him coldly. They didn't expect him to be so confident. Lei Yunzi's eyes flickered when he met the Heavenly Venerate's confident gaze. "If you want to use this to get information about Mad Southern Ye's family, I advise you to give up. I've said that it's impossible. You worry too much." The Heavenly Venerable of Absolute Beginning seemed to have guessed that he would say that. He could not help but smile and say, "If I win, I don't want Mad Southern Ye's family. My conditions will definitely not make things difficult for you." Lei Yunzi contemplated this momentarily before nodding in response. "All right, I'll make a bet with you." The grand beginning Heavenly Sovereign slowly closed his eyes. "Then we shall wait and see." Lei Yunzi and the others couldn't help but exchange glances upon seeing this, and they could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. "They're here, they're coming out." At the same time, a cry of surprise suddenly sounded out from the crowd below. At the same time, all the gazes in this region looked towards the exit of the desolate god's tomb, only to see figures shooting out one after another. "It's Li Zitong from 8 Wilderness Sect, and Ping Hai of my Sha Luo Sect." As the figures appeared one after another, many people cried out in excitement. After all, the people who entered this time were the elites of the various sections. No one would be able to accept any losses. After approximately the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, roughly 30 people walked out from the exit of the desolate god's tomb. However, this result was something that countless forces could not accept. After all, there were at least 80 people who went in, if not 100. Now that less than half of them had returned, could it be that the remaining people had met with an accident? At the same time, everyone noticed a strange phenomenon. None of the people who came out alive were from the 5 Great Saint Lands. From the beginning to the end, no one saw a single person from the 5 Great Saint Lands. Even the primordial Heavenly Sovereign and the others in the void frowned. Boom! The primordium Heavenly Sovereign reached out and forcefully pulled a person over from the ground. He said solemnly, "Let me ask you, why are you waiting for someone to come out? Where are the people of Taichu Taoist Rite? And the people of my Xianyuan 8 clans?" Lei Yunzi and the others chimed in. The person who was pulled over was the disciple of the 8 Desolate Sect, Li Zitong. Meeting the gazes of so many old monsters, Li Zitong stammered, "We encountered many dangers as soon as we entered, and many of us died." The primordium Heavenly Sovereign interrupted him. "Get to the point. What happened to the people of Taichu Taoist Rite? If there's even half a lie, I'll burn your bones and scatter your ashes on the spot." The people of Taichu Taoist Rite are all dead." Li Zitong's body trembled as he said, "Divine Sun Ho and young Master Su Mingqi of the Panwu Celestial Exalt even died at the hands of Mad Southern Yi." As soon as he finished speaking, the heavens and the earth suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Mad Southern Yi? How is this possible? When did he sneak into the desolate god's tomb? Why didn't we notice? My God, I didn't expect the geniuses of Taichu Taoist Rite and the Panwu Celestial Sect to be dead. Especially the Panwu Celestial Sect. Including Hong Ye, there are already 2 people who died at the hands of Mad Southern Yi, right? After a short period of silence, This silence was immediately covered by waves of cries of alarm. The powerhouse of the Panwu celestial sect slapped out his palm and immediately killed the person who spoke earlier. Then, he snatched Li Zitong from the primordium heavenly sovereign's hands and said with a grim expression, "I'll ask you again. Did Mad Southern Yi really enter the desolate god's tomb and kill our Panwu celestial sect's young master, Su Mingqi?" "Why yes," Li Zitong was horrified. "If you don't believe me, you can ask the others." Before he could finish speaking, he let out a blood-curdling scream. It was the powerhouse of the Panwu celestial sect who had used the soul-searching tactic on him. A few seconds later, the powerhouse of the Panwu celestial sect squeezed Li Zitong into a bloody mess and took a few more people from the ground to perform the soul-searching tactic. "Mad Southern Yi, Mad Southern Yi, my Panwu celestial sect will not rest until one of us is dead." He suddenly laughed out loud and looked at the powerhouse of the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce, Fang Tianqiu, with a gaze filled with killing intent. "Fellow Fang, well done. You actually colluded with Mad Southern Yi and allowed him to enter the desolate god's tomb under our noses." As soon as he said that, countless gazes immediately looked at Fang Tianqiu. Meeting everyone's gazes, Fang Tianqiu's expression changed slightly. Then, he took a deep breath in and said, "Fellow Hong, I don't understand what you're talking about. Why are you still acting with us at a time like this?" The powerhouse of the Panwu celestial sect sneered. "I searched the souls of a few people and found out that Mad Southern Yi is the external help that Fang Ziyue, a disciple of the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce's Purple Faction, invited." As soon as he said that, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Fang Tianqiu was stunned at first. Then, he could not help but think of Yi Chen. "Yi Chen is Mad Southern Yi? I see. What a cunning brat." Sensing their unfriendly gazes, he immediately said, "Everyone, I'm really not sure about this. If the external help that Ziyue invited is really Mad Southern Yi, my Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce will definitely not interfere in this grudge." He knew very well that today's matter had completely blown up. If he was even slightly careless, it might cause public anger. "Mad Southern Yi, it's Mad Southern Yi again." The heavenly sovereign of absolute beginning was so angry that he laughed. His killing intent surged. "Today, we'll join forces to block the exit of the desolate god's tomb. Let's see what else we can do." As he spoke, another screen of light appeared at the exit of the desolate god's tomb. Then, a man in black walked out. "It's Jiang Li and the rest. Elder Lu and the others from the great Jiang God dynasty and the heavenly Jade Holy Land were delighted." The heavenly sovereign of absolute beginning was one step ahead of them as he walked towards Jiang Li and the rest. He said coldly, "Nephew Jiang Li, let me ask you, is Mad Southern Yi in the desolate god's tomb? Who obtained the Emperor's seal?" Chapter 1554. Buzz at the exit of the desolate god's tomb, amidst the dazzling and strange fluctuations of the formation, under the attention of countless gazes. Dressed in a black python robe, the god-son of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Li, slowly walked out of the formation. Behind him followed the heavenly Jade Saintess and the genius disciples of the 8 Xianyuan clans. Breathing in the fresh air of the outside world, Jiang Li was in a daze. "I've finally walked out alive." During this trip to the desolate god's tomb, he had originally vowed and was confident. He thought that with his talent, he would be able to fight for the Emperor's seal in the desolate god's tomb. Unexpectedly, he met that person. He had survived 3 times in a row at that person's hands. It could be said to be extremely dangerous, but Hong Ye and the others, who were of the same generation, were scared out of their wits. It was because he had survived that he knew the beauty of living. However, he did not want to stay in the desolate god's tomb for a moment, nor did he want to face that person again. He was not the only one who had the same thoughts. Just as Jiang Li was sighing with emotion, he saw an incomparably dignified figure charging at him. Immediately after, An extremely shocking voice sounded in his mind. Nephew Jiangli, let me ask you, is mad Southern Yi in the desolate god's tomb? And who obtained the emperor's seal? Jiangli could not be more familiar with this voice. Everyone, including him, stiffened. Jiangli even cupped his fists and said, Senior Absolute Beginning, mad Southern Yi has indeed appeared in the desolate god's tomb. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, he felt the world suddenly shake violently, and then countless terrifying killing intent arose. Lei Yunzi, who was standing in the distance, sighed slightly in his heart. Then, he shook his head without a trace. He did not expect Yi Chen to appear in the desolate god's tomb, as everyone had said. At that moment, the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan, said in a deep voice, Jiang Li, let me ask you, it's said that mad Southern Yi once slaughtered the people of our 5 sacred grounds in the desolate god's tomb. Is that true? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes flickered. Others might not be trustworthy, but Jiang Li was the divine son of the great Jiang divine dynasty. He represented the great Jiang divine dynasty, so his words naturally had a certain degree of credibility. Meeting everyone's gazes, Jiang Li's heart sank, but he still said, Mad Southern Yi has indeed killed many people in the desolate god's tomb, such as young Master Su of the Panwu immortal sect, God's son Ho of the Taichu dojo, and the others. In reality, he admired Yi Chen quite a bit. To him, although Yi Chen was a native of the declining celestial burial planet, he was far superior to him in terms of talent and decisiveness. Boom! As his voice fell, the world instantly shook, as if it had been enveloped by an endless killing intent. Indeed, the Panwu immortal sect's powerhouse laughed from extreme anger. Mad Southern Yi is bloodthirsty. Even the heavens won't tolerate it. He could not help but look up at Lei Yunzi as he spoke. Old geezer Lei Yun, the people of China sure are promising. They've almost wiped out all 5 of our holy lands. Lei Yunzi snorted coldly. Mad Southern Yi is no longer a Chinese. Please don't drag China into this. If you insist on dragging us into this, don't blame me for being rude. Moreover, Huang Fu Yu of the Xianyuan 8 clans has yet to come out. At this time, even though he pitied Yi Chen, he had no choice but to stand against him. After all, this matter concerned the rise and fall of the Chinese cultivation world. With his reminder, everyone present realized that not only did Mad Southern Yi not come out, even Huang Fu Yu was the same. Very good. The Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning smiled sinisterly and looked at Jiang Li coldly. Who obtained the Emperor's seal? Swoosh. In an instant, countless gazes turned to Jiang Li and the rest. After all, they all had the possibility of possessing the Emperor's seal. How could Jiang Li not know his own situation? He immediately said, Seniors, we did not obtain the Emperor's seal. We only saw the Emperor's seal, and we were teleported out by Old Man Great Desolation's remnant soul before it disappeared. That's right, everyone. If we had the Emperor's seal, with your abilities, you would naturally be able to tell at a glance. The Heavenly Jade Holy Maiden and the rest hurriedly defended themselves. The Emperor's seal was a hot potato. Even though countless people wanted to obtain it, it did not mean that they were willing to take the blame for others. Listening to their explanations, the people from the great Jiang God dynasty and the Heavenly Jade Holy Land heaved a sigh of relief while feeling disappointed. The Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning and the Panwu immortal sect's powerhouses obviously did not believe them. They only completely believed Jiang Li and the rest after using their divine consciousness to personally examine them. The Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning could not help but ask, Do you know who obtained the Emperor's seal? I'm not too sure either. Jiang Li took a deep breath and said, At that time, before Old Man Great Desolation's remnant soul died, he dragged Mad Southern Yi and Huang Fu Yu into a mysterious space, and then we were teleported out. After saying that, he immediately recounted what he saw in the desolate god's tomb. After hearing that old man Great Desolation was entangled by a demon general in the demonic earth, many people were secretly shocked. Who is this Feng Wuxia? The heavenly jade holy maiden and the other old monsters at the void training stage could not help but look at each other. It was obvious that it was the first time they had heard of this person. They did not expect that this person was not inferior to Huang Fuyu. Now it seems that the Emperor's seal is most likely obtained by these three people. The great Jiang God dynasty's third duke, Jiang Hongyuan, said with a flicker in his eyes, "In my opinion, among these three people, Huang Fuyu is the most likely to obtain the Emperor's seal's recognition. After all, he is the descendant of the great Emperor Xianyuan." At this point, he could not help but look at Lei Yunzi and said with a faint smile, "Fellow Lei Yun, I have to congratulate the 8 Xianyuan clans in advance." At the same time, everyone looked at Lei Yunzi in unison. Lei Yunzi said calmly, "Don't say that too early. Don't forget that there is still Mad Southern Yi and Feng Wuxia." Although he said that, he was also sure that Huang Fuyu obtained the Emperor's seal. After all, the 8 Xianyuan clans were the descendants of the great Emperor Xianyuan. If the descendants of the great Emperor Xianyuan could not obtain the Emperor's seal, then no one else in the world could. I didn't expect that old geezer Lei Yun to win in such an ending. The Taichu heavenly sovereign smiled insincerely. This time, his Taichu dojo suffered the most losses, including the divine sons and the disciples who entered the desolate god's tomb. None of them came out alive. How could he not be furious? Thinking to this point, the killing intent in his heart skyrocketed. He secretly made up his mind that whether it was Mad Southern Yi or Huang Fuyu, he would completely annihilate them today. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the exit of the desolate god's tomb, which had not moved for a long time, shook violently again. Then, a figure with a monstrous aura rushed out. The figure had a head of dazzling silver hair, but his handsome features seemed a little gloomy at this moment. Chapter 1556. Time passed bit by bit and night fell. In the desolate god's tomb, there was a place that no one had ever set foot in before. It was also the most dangerous place in the desolate god's tomb. As far as the eye could see, boundless darkness enveloped everything. Endless evil demonic energy wantonly covered everything, as if it wanted to turn the entire desolate god's tomb into a demonic land. Amidst the terrifying demonic energy, there was a figure standing quietly, as if the demonic energy could not shake him at all. "Is this the demon abyss that you mentioned?" Yi Chen raised his eyes. 2 golden beams shot out from his eyes as if they ignored the boundless darkness and wanted to see the entire desolate god's tomb. In front of him, demonic energy that was as black as ink penetrated the heavens and the earth. The demonic energy invaded all living beings in this place, as if they were standing in an abyss. As the crimson divine flames flickered, the Emperor Seal's artifact spirit, Old Fan, appeared. The reason why the Great Desolation Old Man chose this place as the desolate god's tomb was because there was a demon abyss here, and there seemed to be a demon suppressed inside. Demon? Yi Chen's eyes flashed as if he wanted to see through the endless darkness. This demon existed here before the desolate god's tomb was built. To be able to be called a demon, even if it could not compare to the mysterious immortals above the 9 heavens, it was not inferior to the tribulation stage cultivators of the cultivation world. That's right. Old Fan nodded slightly and said, "Back then, after great Emperor Xianyuan suppressed his immortal body and immortal soul, it attracted the covetous eyes of countless people from the outer realm. In addition, the barrier of the Inshu world was broken, causing the energy of the demon world and the netherworld to spread. Therefore, this is the origin of the demonic earth." He sighed faintly. There are many terrifying existences in the demonic earth, and the demonic earth energy is constantly invading the outside. If not for the barrier seal left behind by the great emperor, I'm afraid the so-called outer area, core, and forbidden zone would not exist in the entire Inshu. Yi Chen frowned. Then how did this demon come here? If there really was a barrier seal left by great Emperor Xianyuan, with his ability to suppress ancient immortals, how could a mere demon pass through the seal? I'm not sure about that. Old Fan's eyes flickered. Clearly, he understood the meaning behind his words and muttered, I hope this demon was not placed here by someone with ill intentions. Back then, I was brought out by Old Man Great Desolation and my spiritual nature was chaotic. Even if I sensed it, I could not do anything. No matter what, since I've encountered this devil today, I'll eliminate him to prevent him from harming Earth in the future. Yi Chen shook his head. Then, golden flames burned in his eyes, piercing through the darkness of the entire demon abyss. Amidst the vast devil chi, there was a flight of stairs leading to the end of the darkness. Yi Chen's eyes flashed. He stepped forward and walked up the stairs. Old Fan turned into a divine dragon and hovered above his head, illuminating the entire demonic abyss. It seemed to be a demonic well with no end. Yi Chen studied it as he walked. The wanton demonic energy was getting more and more terrifying. In the end, it was as if a demonic sea had erupted. Yi Chen suddenly said, although this demonic energy is extremely pure, it carries a trace of death energy as if its body has rotted. Could it be that what's being suppressed below isn't a demon but a demonic corpse? That's possible, Old Fan said solemnly. As the two of them ventured deeper, they finally arrived at a huge karst cave. There were countless caves that looked like a beehive, and Yi Chen had entered from one of the entrances. In the center of the karst cave there was a huge cloud of black mist. Within the black mist, one could vaguely see a huge creature. The black mist was emitted from its body. Apart from the terrifying devil chi, there was also endless death energy. As the two mixed together, they continuously spewed out into the countless caves around them. It's really a demonic corpse. The raging flames in Yi Chen's eyes soared again. In his eyes, there was an incomparably huge man in the black mist. The man floated in midair. His body was like a mummy and his skin was dark purple. The most attractive thing about him was that this man had 3 vertical eyes, all of which exuded a strange aura. On his face, there were faint, flickering demonic patterns that were extremely evil. It really is a demonic corpse. Yi Chen's eyes flickered, and it looks like it's a 3-eyed demon from the devil world. No wonder it gave me such a familiar feeling. At his peak, he had led the immortal world's army to fight the devil world more than once. In the devil world's army, the most difficult to guard against was the 3-eyed demon. The members of the 3-eyed demon race were born with 3 eyes, and each eye possessed extraordinary magical powers, such as soul snatching. Old Fan suddenly said, "What's that on him?" After his reminder, Yi Chen realized that there was a seedling on the 3-eyed demon's body. The seedling was golden and was only the size of a palm. It looked like a seedling that had just grown out of the ground. However, it was this seedling that remained motionless on the demonic corpse. What's this? Yi Chen was shocked at first, and then his body shook violently. This is the world tree seedling? In this endless world, there was a divine object. This object was known as the world tree, also known as the supreme sky tree. This object stood in the middle of the world. Legend had it that the world tree could grow endlessly and eventually grow directly into the immortal world. Therefore, countless people frantically searched for the world tree because of this seemingly absurd rumor, trying to use the world tree to reach the immortal world. Although this rumor seemed absurd to others, it was worthless to Yi Chen. When he had just ascended to the immortal world, he had seen the world tree that had grown from the mortal world into the immortal world, causing the order of the 3 realms to be in complete chaos. At that time, the master of the ancient heavenly court, immortal Emperor Daozhen, ordered people to cut it off. As a result, the world tree turned into countless fragments that scattered throughout the heavens. It also stopped the people of the lower realm from thinking of ascending to the heavens. Yi Chen did not expect to see a world tree seedling here. Could this seedling be born from the fragment that was cut off back then? Yi Chen started to size up the demonic corpse as he thought to this point. Subsequently, his gaze focused on the demonic corpse's heart. There was a golden fragment the size of a fist, and the golden seedling had grown from it. As expected, Yi Chen came to a realization immediately. He could not help but say in surprise, "I didn't expect there to be a fragment of the world tree here. Moreover, it has taken root and sprouted." He then sized up the demonic corpse and said in the end, "This demonic corpse has died a long time ago. Moreover, a portion of its cultivation base and essence energy have been absorbed by this fragment of the world tree. That's why it can take root and sprout." Is this demonic corpse already dead? The Emperor Seal's artifact spirit, Old Fan, heaved a sigh of relief. Just when he was about to speak, he saw Yi Chen suddenly walk toward the demonic corpse. Then, a palm-sized dark green bottle appeared in his hand. P.S. There's still one more chapter. I'm halfway through writing it. Everyone, please wait patiently. Chapter 1557. It was like a freaking nanny in the city. The bottle was crystal clear like jade, about the size of a baby's palm. Its entire body was engraved with birds, beasts, insects, and fish, and it did not even have a lid. Under the illumination of the moonlight, the immortal drift bottle trembled slightly and emitted a weak green light. "What is this?" Old Fan was dumbfounded. Yi Chen seemed to have not heard him. He lifted his head and glanced at the pale moonlight that was refracting in from the countless entrances around him. His gaze finally landed on the dark green bottle in his hand. For some reason, when he saw the supreme sky tree sapling, an impulse suddenly flashed through his mind. "I wonder if this immortal drift bottle can accelerate the growth of the supreme sky tree." Yi Chen immediately picked up the immortal drift bottle and poured it gently on the supreme sky tree sapling on the demonic corpse. A drop of green liquid dripped out of the bottle and landed on the golden supreme sky tree sapling. At the same time, Yi Chen's gaze was fixed on the sapling. However, to his disappointment, the supreme sky tree sapling did not move at all, and the green liquid in the immortal drift bottle slowly dripped down along the leaves. "Is it not possible?" Yi Chen frowned slightly. After hesitating for a moment, he poured another drop of green liquid on the supreme sky tree sapling. As the second drop of green fell, a strange scene unfolded. A strange scene immediately appeared. The supreme sky tree sapling, which was originally motionless, suddenly trembled violently. Then, the demonic corpse below it shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye. The demonic chi and blood in its body surged into the supreme sky tree sapling. While this sudden scene caused the Emperor Seal's weapon spirit to be so shocked that he could not close his mouth, Yi Chen's expression was quietly filled with joy. In just a few breaths of time, the three-eyed demonic corpse shriveled and withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, only some hair was left, and the rest was absorbed by the supreme sky tree sapling. After absorbing the demonic corpse's blood, the supreme sky tree sapling began to emit a dazzling golden light and began to expand crazily. Its shape also changed. 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters, 50 centimeters, in the end, it grew to a height of more than a meter. The weapon spirit of the Emperor's Seal, who was standing at the side, was shocked. He seemed to see a towering divine tree that pierced through the barrier between the celestial world and the lower world, and went straight into the vast blue sky. After recovering from the illusion with great difficulty, he once again looked at the supreme sky tree sapling that had soared to a height of more than 1 meter with shock in his eyes. "Grow, continue to grow." Yi Chen poured out the last drop of green liquid again. He hoped that the supreme sky tree seedling would continue to grow. He looked forward to seeing if it could return to its peak in the past. However, to his disappointment, the supreme sky tree sapling stopped growing when it reached 1.5 meters. Could it be that the green liquid is not enough? Yi Chen's eyes flickered. He lowered his head and looked at the demonic corpse that had disappeared. He seemed to have understood something. Could it be that this supreme sky tree needs to absorb blood? Only by nourishing it can it continue to grow. At that moment another change occurred. Under his gaze, he saw a golden fruit growing at a speed visible to the naked eye on the meter-tall supreme sky tree. Although it was called a fruit, it was actually a golden ball at first glance. There seemed to be the shadow of an ancient god within the fruit, looking down on everything. The supreme sky tree fruit. Yi Chen's expression changed again. This is the legendary supreme sky tree fruit, also known as the longevity fruit. No, it's just the prototype of the supreme sky tree fruit. This was because the fruit had not completely condensed into a physical body. Even so, Yi Chen still felt the overly dense spiritual energy from it. It was as if a single whiff could cause the true origin energy in his body to go berserk. It's a pity. If it's the real longevity fruit, then Yuhan's injuries can be cured. Even if it's not the real longevity fruit, it's enough. Yi Chen suppressed the shock in him and muttered, "With this fruit, I can recover to the void refinement stage." Thinking to this point, he could not help but turn around and look at the weapon spirit of the Emperor's seal. "I'm going into closed-door cultivation. Protect me outside for the time being." "How long will it take?" the weapon spirit asked subconsciously. In his opinion, Yi Chen must have reached a bottleneck. It would take at least 8 to 10 years for him to enter closed-door cultivation. After 8 to 10 years, the outside world would have been turned upside down. Yi Chen said, "Very soon, in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn." The weapon spirit thought that he had heard wrongly. The time it takes for an incense stick to burn? Yi Chen did not reply. He waved his sleeve and put away the prototype of the longevity fruit. Then, he walked into one of the surrounding caves and raised his hand to set up a barrier. He swallowed the prototype of the longevity fruit. As his cultivation method circulated quickly, he immediately refined the terrifying spiritual energy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! Boom! At that moment, the aura that belonged to a perfected god transformation stage cultivator began to skyrocket at an astonishing speed. Outside the demon abyss, the weapon spirit of the Emperor's seal, Old Fan, stroked his beard and looked into the demon abyss as he muttered, "You only need the time it takes for an incense stick to burn? This is getting more and more incomprehensible. I only hope that it'll be quick. The Emperor's tomb is about to open. After all, this matter concerns the survival of billions of living beings in this world." He sighed softly to himself, and there was an unconvinced expression on his face. At the same time, outside the desolate god tomb, countless figures with powerful auras stood in the vast world. The most terrifying ones were the 5 figures in the void. However, at this moment, the atmosphere between heaven and earth seemed to be a little gloomy and anxious. In the void, the Taichu Heavenly Lord looked down and his face twitched. "Bastard, it's already been 4 hours. Why hasn't Mad Southern Yi come out yet?" When he thought about how Yi Chen had flattened the Taichu Dojo alone and killed many people from the Taichu Dojo, he could not suppress the killing intent in his heart. The big shot from the martial immortal sect said coldly, "Could it be that this person knows that we're waiting for him outside, so he doesn't dare to appear?" At this point, he could not help but look at Huang Fuyu. "Nephew Huang Fu, you were the last to come out. Are you sure that Mad Southern Yi is still in the desolate god tomb?" "Of course." Huang Fuyu said seriously, "There's only one entrance and exit to the desolate god tomb. I'm sure that he's still inside. Everyone, just wait patiently." Apart from the resentment in his heart, he could not help but gloat. "Yi Chen, oh Yi Chen. So what if you obtained the Emperor's seal?" Today, the 5 void refinement stage old monsters have joined forces to block the door. As long as he dares to come out, he will definitely die here. The Taichu Heavenly Lord snorted coldly, "I don't believe that he won't come out for the rest of his life." Almost at that moment, in the depths of the desolate god tomb, within the demonic abyss, the vast demonic energy suddenly turned into a black hole that swept back crazily. At the center of the black hole, there was actually a figure sitting there. Facing the terrifying storm, the figure did not move, like an old monk in meditation. Boom! Suddenly, the figure opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, an aura that seemed like the descent of an ancient god erupted from his body. Chapter 1558. He had advanced to the void refinement stage. At this moment, thick demonic clouds were rolling in the desolate god's tomb. The demonic clouds were condensed from all the demonic energy in the desolate god's tomb. The density of the demonic energy had reached an extremely terrifying level. Other than that, there was still a terrifying demonic aura gathering towards the demon abyss from all directions of the wilderness god's tomb, as if a demon god was being born. What's going on? The Emperor Seal's artifact spirit, Old Fan, stood at the exit of the demon abyss and looked at the demonic clouds that had gathered above the demon abyss in shock. This was because the density of the demonic energy had already exceeded his understanding. It was almost comparable to the demonic earth. Even a void refinement old monster would be inexplicably fearful here. This guy actually caused such a commotion when he was in closed-door cultivation. Old Fan took a deep look at the demon abyss and frowned. This kid's body is filled with righteous energy. He doesn't seem to have cultivated demonic technique. However, why did closed-door cultivation attract so much demonic energy? Rumble! Not long after he finished speaking, the huge demonic cloud in the sky forcefully distorted, and then a resplendent flame slowly appeared from within. Buzz! The flame became more and more resplendent, and in the end it turned into a figure. The figure was as handsome as jade and had a heroic bearing. His eyes shone and shot out a shocking beam of light that turned into a terrifying pressure, causing the space to seem unable to bear it. Void refinement stage. Seeing this, Old Fan was stunned at first, and then a trace of shock appeared on his old face. He actually broke through to the void refinement stage. How could he have done it in such a short period of time? 30 minutes ago, he clearly remembered that Yi Chen was still at stage soul formation. 30 minutes later, the person standing before him was a void refinement stage cultivator. Even though Yi Chen had told him that he only needed 30 minutes to break through, he had doubted it at that time. He did not expect it to be true. While Old Fan was shocked, he immediately thought of the crux of the problem. Was it the fruit of the so-called world tree that made him? Just as I expected, Yi Chen hovered in the air and allowed the terrifying demonic energy to envelop him. He muttered after sensing the true origin energy in his body, as expected of the longevity fruit. Even though it's just a prototype, it allowed me to recover to beginner stage void refinement in one go. This trip to the desolate god's tomb can be considered to have gained something. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the gigantic demonic cloud that covered heaven and earth began to boil. It was as if a terrifying demonic beast was venting and roaring at Yi Chen. Yi Chen's expression remained the same. He clenched his slender hands lightly. How can you stay in this world with such filthy energy? In an instant, the air rumbled as if an invisible millstone was being pushed through the air, crushing everything in its path. Under Old Fan's dumbfounded expression, the demonic clouds in the void shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye, like dough being squashed. In the end, the terrifying demonic cloud turned into 3 black balls of light that were about the size of a human head. The black balls of light were as black as ink, and even though they were so far away, Old Fan could still feel the terrifying power coming from them. What is this? He swallowed his saliva and asked subconsciously. True demonic ball. Yi Chen looked at the 3 black balls of light in his hand and said slowly, it's condensed from the purest demonic energy. You can think of it as a bomb. However, if an ordinary void refinement cultivator encounters a bomb like mine, Old Fan could not help but feel his scalp go numb when he heard that. At the same time, the sky above the desolate god's tomb became extremely clear. Clearly, all the demonic energy that had invaded the desolate god's tomb had been cleared by Yi Chen. It's time to go out. Yi Chen took one last look at the desolate god's tomb. He then landed on the ground slowly and walked toward the exit of the desolate god's tomb. If you go out this time, you'll definitely be hated by others. You must be careful. Old Fan reminded, countless people are plotting for the Emperor's seal. As the saying goes, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. If they find out that you've obtained the Emperor's seal, they'll definitely attack you. Yi Chen smiled lightly. So what? Old Fan said, what I mean is, after you go out this time, find a way to enter the demonic land and find those 3 guys. They can protect you. Yi Chen suddenly stopped in his tracks and turned around to look at him. If I'm not wrong, the 3 guys you're talking about must have followed the great Emperor Xianyuan back then. One of them is even the realm guardian of Yin Su. Looks like you know everything. Old Fan was slightly stunned, and then he did not hide it anymore. The 3 of them followed the great Emperor back then, especially the eldest. After the great Emperor shed his slough and stepped onto the heavenly path, the eldest turned into a tomb-guarding beast to protect the great Emperor's tomb. Don't think that I'm scaring you. Old Fan glanced at him and shook his head slightly. Yin Su isn't as simple as you think. Although you've stepped into the void refinement stage and have the ability to protect yourself, it doesn't mean that no one can threaten you. Yi Chen's eyes flickered slightly. Is that so? Old Fan's words reminded him of the demon god Forest's Qianxu Wuhan, the immortal pagoda's path master of carnal desires, and the mysterious existence in the heavenly tomb. The 3 of them were all tribulation stage almighties in the spirit realm. Although their cultivation levels had fallen because they were pursuing ancient immortals, no one knew how many tricks they had up their sleeve. However, Yi Chen was extremely calm inside. In terms of abilities and shrewdness, when had he ever been afraid of anyone? Moreover, he had already recovered to the void refinement stage. Let's go. He could not help but smile when he thought to this point. At the exit of the desolate god's tomb, there was a teleportation formation that was emitting a dazzling light. However, if one looked closely, they would discover that the light was weakening at a fast rate. Beside the formation stood a man and a woman. Fang Ziyue, who was dressed in red, looked at the weakened teleportation formation, then raised her eyes to look at the desolate god's tomb. She gritted her teeth and said, "Why isn't Senior Yi out yet? Once the energy of this teleportation formation is exhausted, it will be difficult for us to leave." In front of her, a handsome red-haired young man leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. He was lazily sizing up the former, as if he was savoring something. Sensing his gaze, Fang Ziyue turned around and glared at him. She said fiercely, "Feng, where are your dog eyes looking?" "Of course I'm looking at you." Seeing her pouting coquettishly, Feng Wuxie smiled faintly and said in all seriousness, "Sister, it's not that I'm not human, but your figure is too charming." Bastard. Fang Ziyue had come from a prominent family since she was young, so she had never heard such teasing words. She was so angry that her face turned green. "You're really a scum among cultivators." "Scum, that's a good word. I like it," Feng Wuxie whistled frivolously. Just as he was about to speak, the smile on his face suddenly disappeared, and he suddenly looked into the depths of the desolate god's tomb. P.S. Chapter 1. There's still one more chapter. I'll be done soon. End of this chapter. Chapter 1559. Fang Ziyue was stunned at first when she saw his abnormal behavior. Then, she looked in the direction he was looking. There was a slender figure walking over slowly. As he appeared, the space seemed to be unable to withstand it. When she saw the person's face clearly, Fang Ziyue was surprised and delighted. "Senior Yi. Why haven't you left yet?" Yi Chen glanced at her in surprise. "I've been waiting for you here, Senior Yi." Fang Ziyue smiled lightly and said, "Congratulations to Senior Yi for obtaining the Emperor's seal's recognition. Before this, she had met Huang Fuyu long ago. Although she did not know the real situation, she could vaguely guess from Huang Fuyu's ugly expression that he did not obtain the Emperor's seal. She had also tested Feng Wuxie and found out that he did not obtain the Emperor's seal. As a result, the Emperor's seal naturally belonged to Yi Chen. "Thank you." Yi Chen nodded lightly. Subsequently, his gaze became a little strange. He was not sure if Feng Ziyue's purpose in coming to the desolate god's tomb this time was to look for the Emperor's seal. If that was the case, things would become a little awkward. After all, the Emperor's seal had already acknowledged him as its master. With Old Fan's temper, it was almost impossible for him to change it to someone else. If he did not give the Emperor's seal to Feng Ziyue, his previous agreement with her would be invalid. As if sensing what he was thinking, Feng Ziyue took the initiative to resolve the awkwardness. "Don't worry, Senior Yi. I'm not here for the Emperor's seal. I've made a promise with you," Yi Chen said. "If your goal is really the Emperor's seal, I can lend it to you. Take it back and fight for control of the Tianyuan Trading Company." "Thank you." Feng Ziyue was overjoyed to hear that. Yi Chen nodded and looked at Feng Wuxie, who was standing aside. Subsequently, he seemed to have noticed something and said with a faint smile, "Congratulations, Brother Feng." Feng Wuxie was at perfected God transformation stage before this, but he had already stepped into early-stage void refinement stage. Clearly, he had benefited from the desolate God's tomb. "Isn't Brother Yi the same?" Feng Wuxie looked at him deeply and said, "The reason why I stayed to wait for you is to give you a message. Yin Su's peaceful days will not last long. If you go out, please be careful, especially that Huang Fuyu." At this point, his eyes flashed. "Even I cannot see through this person. Although he did not obtain the Emperor's seal this time, he will definitely not give up on the Emperor's tomb. The two of you are still fighting." Yi Chen said in surprise, "Why did Brother Feng say that to me?" He and Feng Wuxie got to know each other in the desolate god's tomb, and had never interacted with each other before, so there was no friendship between them at all. Because of an old friend. Hearing that, Feng Wuxie's eyes flashed a few times, and then his expression turned to one of reverence. "You have the aura of that old friend. That's all I have to say. I hope Brother Yi will remember this well." With that, he immediately turned around and stepped into the teleportation formation. With a huge fluctuation of teleportation power, his figure immediately disappeared on the spot. This person is quite interesting. After watching him disappear, Yi Chen secretly transmitted his voice. "Old Fan, do you know about this person's background?" "This person is from the outer realm," Old Fan said. "I don't know his exact background, but his potential is not lower than Huang Fuyu's. If he did not come from the outer realm, the ownership of the Emperor's seal would still be up for discussion." "The outer realm, huh?" Yi Chen's eyes flashed, and he immediately stopped thinking about it. He lifted his head to look at Feng Ziyue next to him. "Ms. Feng, it's time for us to go out." "Senior Yi." Feng Ziyue wanted to say something but hesitated. "You've killed too many people in the desolate god's tomb this time. I'm afraid the news has already been leaked. I reckon there are many people waiting for you outside. If necessary, I can ask my third grandpa and Elder Ku to help you." "No need." Yi Chen smiled lightly. Subsequently, he waved his sleeve and stepped into the formation light screen that was about to be extinguished with her in tow. At the same time, outside the desolate god's tomb, the 5 void refinement stage almighties, led by the heavenly lord of absolute beginning, worked together and set up a sealing formation, sealing off an area of 100 kilometers. An invisible killing intent suddenly soared in the void. However, after waiting for a long time, not only did they not see Yi Chen, but even the formation at the exit of the desolate god's tomb did not move at all. The formation led to the desolate god's tomb. Other than that, there was no other passage. "Looks like Mad Southern Yi won't come out." The third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan frowned slightly, as if he had completely lost his patience. Forget it, I still have important matters to attend to, so I won't accompany all of you to wait here. After saying that, he turned around and glanced at Jiang Li behind him, signaling the latter to leave with him. After hearing his words, the woman from the heavenly jade Holy Land also smiled. I also have important matters to attend to. It's time for me to return. Seeing that the formation that he had painstakingly formed was about to collapse, the Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning frowned slightly and subconsciously wanted to speak. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a resplendent formation light screen shot out from the exit of the desolate god's tomb. It's moving! It's moving! Seeing this scene, someone present was pleasantly surprised. The exit formation has moved. Someone is coming out. It must be Mad Southern Yi. Swoosh! In an instant, everyone's attention was drawn to him. Huang Fuyu, who was standing behind Lei Yunzi, was no exception. A ferocious glint flashed through his eyes. Yi Chen, oh Yi Chen, I thought you were planning to hide in there for the rest of your life. I didn't expect you to be unable to hold it in. Everyone, get ready! The Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning sent a voice transmission with his divine sense. His gaze locked onto the exit. 1. After the light from the formation reached its peak, a figure shot out from it. Attack! The Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning was the first to be unable to hold it in. Almost at the instant the figure appeared, his left hand glowed and rapidly expanded, pressing down on the former, forming a powerful pressure. This was a great divinity. It was as if his palm had turned into a vast sky, wanting to completely suppress and kill all enemies in this time. Walala! At the same time, the figure that shot out burst out with resplendent divine flames. The divine flames were like dazzling divine chains that crushed toward the Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning, almost filling the entire void. Boom! With a loud bang, the two of them seemed to have completely ignited the void, causing everyone to be incomparably shocked. Stomp, 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 then, the Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning retreated over 30 meters. He looked at the figure in the distance with an incomparably serious gaze. You're not Mad Southern Yi? In front of everyone's eyes, that figure transformed into a handsome, red-haired young man in the void. The red-haired young man sized up the world for a while before saying to the person behind him with a faint smile, Brother Yi, I didn't expect these people to cause such a commotion just to deal with you. Chapter 1560. The vibrating void suddenly became terrifyingly silent. The countless figures standing between heaven and earth fixed their eyes on the red-haired young man at the exit of the desolate god's tomb. The former was actually fighting with the Heavenly Lord, and from the looks of it, they seemed to be on par? Whoosh! This short period of deathly silence was soon drowned by waves of uproar that were like a tempestuous storm. Who was the Heavenly Lord? He was the ancestor of a sect, one of the top existences in the world, but there was an extremely young man who was on par with him. Not only them, but even the eyes of the Panwu immortal sect's powerhouse and the great Jiang divine dynasty's third prince, Jiang Hongyuan, and the others shrank. They had clearly seen that although the Heavenly Lord seemed to have been repelled, he did not use his full strength. Even so, it was enough to make them wary. Under everyone's gaze, the Heavenly Lord's face twitched slightly. Then, he locked his sharp gaze on the red-haired young man. Junior, you're not Mad Southern Yi. Who are you? Void refinement stage. Through the exchange just now, he had already tested the former's cultivation level. It was at the early stage of void refinement. Old man, it doesn't matter who I am. Facing his question, Feng Wuxie smiled faintly. What's important is, are you sure you want to fight me today? At this moment, Huang Fuyu suddenly said, He's Feng Wuxie. What? He's Feng Wuxie? As soon as this was said, the expressions of everyone present changed. Obviously, they did not expect the young man fighting with the Heavenly Lord to be Feng Wuxie. So it's you. The Heavenly Lord's eyes flashed, then he sneered. Since you're not Mad Southern Yi, please leave quickly. Don't take the initiative to provoke this unexpected disaster. Feng Wuxie looked extremely young, but he had stepped into the void refinement stage. This made him wonder about the former's background. It was very likely that the former was from some primordial god clan. It was best not to provoke such an existence if possible. Fight if you want. Are you trying to bully me because I'm young? Unexpectedly, Feng Wuxie did not fall for his trick. He deliberately looked at him provocatively. I just broke through, and many of my abilities are useless. Why don't you warm up with me? Bastard! The Heavenly Lord of the Absolute beginning Heavenly Lord was incomparably furious. You think a junior like you is worthy of fighting me? Don't think that you have the right to be arrogant just because you've entered the void tempering stage. Are they going to fight? The surrounding people quietly watched this scene, their hearts fluctuating. Feng Wuxie's eyes turned cold, and he was just about to say something when a calm voice suddenly sounded from behind him. Brother Feng, why do you need to deal with this old dog? Why not leave it to this Yi to slaughter? Boom! That voice was incomparably loud, causing the heavens and earth to rumble endlessly. At that moment, under everyone's gazes, the exit of the desolate god's tomb behind Feng Wuxie was followed by a resplendent light screen blossoming. A thin figure walked over with his hands clasped behind his back. That figure's black robes fluttered in the wind, and he was as handsome as a god. Behind him was a woman in red robes, delicate and elegant. The two of them stood together like a celestial couple. Suddenly, the world fell into a deathly silence. Swish, swish, swish. Mad Southern Yi is finally here. What? He's Mad Southern Yi? At that moment, regardless of whether it was in the sky or on the ground, everyone's gazes were gathered on that figure. They were all too familiar with these three words. First, this person went on a killing spree with Yin Su a month ago, slaughtering many soul formation cultivators. He even flattened the Taichu Taoist ground by himself, and even fought to a draw with the Taichu Heavenly Lord's divine will projection. After that, this person had come to Yin Su, killed the young master, and annihilated the Son of God. All of these deeds had spread throughout Yin Su, so how could everyone not pay attention to them? Almost at the moment when Yi Chen appeared, a figure suddenly appeared. In the demon god forest, Qianxia Wuhan stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were as vast as the stars as he smiled. Early void tempering? His aptitude isn't bad. In the immortal tower, the path master of human desire looked up. Ling Long, who was beside him, pursed her lips and said, Path master, should we attack? No. The former stretched lazily and said with a faint smile, These pieces of trash don't know that I'll attack. Let's watch the show for now. 5 pieces of trash. Ling Long was stunned at first, then she revealed a silly smile. Even if they're trash, they're still at the void tempering stage. Can that person deal with them? If that person from the demon god forest gets there first. I won't, and that guy won't either. The path master of human desire knew everything. That guy knows very well that he's waited for countless years. He won't lose his composure at this critical moment. In the demonic land, Ling Long seemed to understand and hesitated. Will the World Guardian attack? After all, that person has obtained the recognition of the Emperor's seal. The path master of human desire fell silent for a few seconds before shaking his head and saying, No. He knew very well that although the World Guardian was powerful, he strictly abided by the rules. He would not rashly break the rules of Yin Su and violate the restrictions left behind by great Emperor Xianyuan. Moreover, that night, he had seen a peerless saber gleam injuring the World Guardian in the demonic land. In the vast demonic land, there was a majestic temple in the endless abyss. A huge golden ape stood there, seemingly expressionless. On its shoulder, there was a golden toad jumping up and down. Second brother, hurry up and inform the boss to come out of seclusion. We're going to fight outside. Second brother, are you deaf? That kid obtained the Emperor's seal, So he's half an inheritor of the great emperor. If anything happens to him, how can we face the great emperor? Shut up! The golden ape suddenly berated with a thunderous voice. The boss said that no one is allowed to move. After being shouted at like that, the golden toad revealed a timid expression and muttered, "In the end, all of you still have hope in that Huang Fuyu." As he spoke, violent roars came from afar, as if the gates of hell had been opened. The demons roared and announced to the world. Boom, boom, boom! Suddenly, a few lightning-like saber gleams flashed across the sky. Then, many bloodstains splattered in the endless darkness. That saber moved again. The golden ape said with a serious expression, "I don't know why, but the saber has been moving more and more frequently recently, as if it's been stimulated by something." Creak, creak! Suddenly, the two beasts heard a crisp sound that sounded like joints cracking. "What's that sound?" The golden ape frowned, then its figure flashed and instantly dashed into the darkness. A group of people and horses came into view. However, the so-called group of people and horses were actually humanoid skeletons. The skeletons in the middle were each carrying a palanquin made of bones. If an ordinary person were to see this, they would definitely be scared to death. At that moment, a golden humanoid skeleton was sitting on the palanquin. The golden skeleton's eyes were burning with divine fire. "It's that stupid skeleton!" the golden toad exclaimed when it saw that. "That stupid skeleton has only been in the demonic land for a short while, but it has already grown to this stage. My God! This skeleton has an extraordinary background. It's terrifying." The golden ape's eyes flickered. "Where is it going?" "I know. It's going out. It's going out." The golden toad seemed to have recalled something and roared as if it was on steroids. "That stupid skeleton must be going to help that ye brat. P.S. There's only one chapter today. I'll update it tomorrow." Chapter 1561. Yi Chen had appeared. He did not move gracefully like Feng Wuxie, soaring through the skies and burrowing through the earth. With his hands behind his back, he walked out of the teleportation formation at the exit of the desolate god's tomb step by step. His black hair fluttered in the wind, as if he did not notice the terrifying killing intent that filled the world. Along with his appearance, the countless figures standing between the heavens and earth moved because of him. This kid is too young. Whether it's his bearing or aptitude, he's not weaker than the god's sons of the various sections. It's hard to imagine that this abandoned planet would give birth to such an outstanding person. I had thought that this person had 3 heads and 6 arms, or that he was a ruthless and murderous demon. I didn't expect him to be so handsome. Countless people's eyes were focused on Yi Chen. Their gazes were filled with shock, surprise, and disbelief. "Is this mad Southern Yi?" Lei Yunzi, who was in the air, stared at Yi Chen. There was a gleam in his eyes. This was the first time he met Yi Chen. Even though both of them were from the Chinese cultivation world, everyone, including him, was in a deep sleep before Earth was unsealed. "What a good look!" Lei Yunzi secretly praised Yi Chen as he looked at the extraordinary Yi Chen. He then sighed softly and said, "What a pity!" At that moment, a blood-red gaze suddenly shot at Yi Chen. "Mad Southern Yi, you're finally willing to come out." The person who spoke was the heavenly venerate of absolute beginning. He looked at Yi Chen with an extremely grim gaze and smiled coldly. "I thought you'd stay in there forever." "Old man." Yi Chen looked over and said with a faint smile, "If I don't come out, how am I going to kill you, old dog?" Everyone was shocked when they heard that. The heavenly venerate of absolute beginning was so angry that he laughed. He immediately said, "Mad Southern Yi, you destroyed my Taichu dojo and slaughtered my disciples. Let's end this hatred today. Today, even if you're an immortal, don't even think about leaving this place alive." At the end of his sentence, the world instantly boiled. Terrifying killing intent of the 5 elements sealed off the world, causing countless people to feel extremely nervous. Do the others think so too? Yi Chen placed his hands behind his back and swept his gaze across the world. His gaze swept past the people of the great Jiang God dynasty, the heavenly Jade Holy Land, and the 8 Xianyuan clans. The Panwu immortal sect's powerhouse sneered, "Of course. Mad Southern Yi, you've killed 2 of our Panwu immortal sect's young masters in succession. How can we let such a deep grudge go?" The third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan, took a step forward and looked at Yi Chen. "Fellow Yi, logically speaking, you don't have much enmity with the great Jiang God dynasty. However, rumor has it that you look down on our foreign immortal sects and have committed many killings. The great Jiang God dynasty has no choice but to advance and retreat with you." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Li, who was standing behind him, hesitated to speak as if he wanted to plead on Yi Chen's behalf. Uncle, however, before he could finish speaking, he met Jiang Hongyuan's fierce gaze. He swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. "Brother Yi, I wish you good luck," he could only sigh secretly. As an enemy, he actually admired Yi Chen. After all, it was rare for the latter to cultivate to such a level as a native of an abandoned planet. Yi Chen lifted his eyes to look at Jiang Hongyuan. "So, you want me to die too? Fellow Yi, you're going too far." Jiang Hongyuan shook his head slightly and said, "If fellow Yi is willing to repent, give up resisting, and accept our punishment, there might still be a chance." "That's right." Hearing this, the heavenly lord of Taichu could not help but smile. "As a sign of your sincerity, you need to hand over the emperor's seal and cripple your own cultivation." After saying that, he immediately turned to look at Lei Yunzi, Fang Tianqiu, and the woman from the heavenly Jade Holy Land. "May I know what the 3 of you think?" Fang Tianqiu took a step forward and looked at Fang Ziyue, who was behind Yi Chen coldly. "Evil creature, get over here." Fang Ziyue looked at Yi Chen and then at the former. In the end, she bit the bullet and walked over. She said subconsciously, "Uncle, Senior Yi." "Shut up!" Fang Tianqiu berated and looked at Yi Chen. "Yi, you bullied Ziyue because she's young and tricked the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce. How do you plan to deal with this?" Yi Chen replied, "How do you want to deal with it?" "Very simple." Fang Tianqiu narrowed his eyes slightly. "Hand over the emperor's seal, and I can represent the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce to forgive your sins. I can even protect your safety. Otherwise..." "Otherwise what?" Yi Chen remained calm. Fang Tianqiu's gaze turned cold. "Otherwise, you'll definitely die today. Shameless." Hearing this, many people present cursed in their hearts. At that moment, Fang Ziyue's face instantly turned incomparably pale. She did not expect Fang Tianqiu to make such a choice. Thinking to this point, she was about to speak, but she realized that she seemed to have been placed under a restriction. She could not speak, and then she was tightly controlled by someone, unable to move. The beautiful woman from the heavenly Jade Holy Land smiled. "The heavenly Jade Holy Land is willing to advance and retreat with all of you." After her, 4 of the 5 Holy Lands expressed their stance one after another. This time, only the Yen Huang Fortress had not expressed its stance. The heavenly sovereign of Absolute Beginning looked at Lei Yunzi with a faint smile. "Old geezer Lei Yun, what's your attitude? Don't tell me that you can't bear to get rid of this traitor of China?" As soon as he said that, countless gazes immediately turned to Lei Yunzi and the rest. Yi Chen looked over calmly. Under everyone's burning gazes, Huang Fuyu took a step forward before Lei Yunzi could speak. He looked at Yi Chen with a sneer. "Brother Yi, I wonder if you've ever thought that you'd end up as the enemy of the world today?" The hatred he had for Yi Chen had almost reached its peak. This hatred even surpassed when Yi Chen and Earth killed him. At that time, Su Qilin was merely his reincarnation. His greatest loss was losing the Emperor's seal in the desolate god's tomb. This was because the Emperor's seal was related to too many things that he had been plotting for countless years. And Yi Chen smiled lightly. "Sooner or later, you'll have to pay for what you've done. This is the truth since ancient times. Today, I only want to kill all of you, or be killed by all of you. Whoosh. The moment that was said, the entire place was in an uproar. Everyone looked at Yi Chen in extreme disbelief. Under such circumstances, he could still maintain such an attitude? After hearing that, Feng Wuxie, who was at the side, was stunned at first. Then, he rubbed his chin and repeated word by word, "Today, I only want to kill all of you, or be killed by all of you." What arrogant words! I like them. End of this chapter. Chapter 1562. Very well. Hearing his words, Huang Fu-yu's eyes narrowed slightly, and a fierce expression surged. "I'm looking forward to your ending." After saying that, he could not help but turn to look at Lei Yunzi. "Senior Lei Yun, this person has already been expelled by us. What are you hesitating for?" Lei Yunzi looked at Yi Chen with an extremely complicated gaze when he met everyone's gaze. He then sighed softly and said, "Yan Huang Fortress will withdraw from this matter. We won't help either side." Even though Yi Chen had single-handedly broken the formation that he had set up in the Yan Huang Fortress, even though Yi Chen had caused him a lot of trouble after entering the Yin ruins, it was undeniable that he admired Yi Chen from the beginning until the end, even though the two of them had never met before. In terms of righteousness, he did not want China to lose such a talent. In terms of balance, he did not want China to become the target of public criticism because of Yi Chen. Therefore, he could only remain neutral. As soon as he said that, the heavenly venerable of absolute beginning was not angry. Instead, he was delighted. "All right, old Lei Yun, you said it yourself. If you dare to help this person today, it'll be equivalent to becoming our enemy." That was what he wanted to hear from Lei Yunzi. Everyone present knew that it was difficult for Lei Yunzi, who had always been thirsty for talent, to attack Yi Chen. As long as he did not help Yi Chen, it would be enough. Only Huang Fu-yu's body trembled as he looked at him in disbelief. "Why? He took away what I should have, so why are you so merciful?" For China. Lei Yunzi could not bear to look at his gaze. He sighed faintly. "Whether it's you or him, you're ultimately a descendant of China. You're both the future hope of the Chinese cultivation world." Bullsh *T, it's all bullsh *T. Huang Fuyu laughed out of extreme anger. "You disappoint me too much. You're too soft-hearted. China is completely hopeless if it's handed over to someone like you. Who does mad Southern Yi think he is? I, Huang Fuyu, am the son of destiny of China. I'm the direct descendant of the great Emperor Xianyuan. Only I can control the future fate of the Chinese cultivation world." He was almost roaring as he accused Lei Yunzi. Even so, Lei Yunzi's face twitched slightly as he said, "As long as I'm still the person in charge of the Yan Huang stronghold, I won't take back my words. If you don't like me, you can contact the others to dismiss me after you return. Don't worry, I will definitely remove you from office." Huang Fuyu sneered. "You will. When we return, you will be jointly dismissed by the other 7 clans." The primordial heavenly lord and the others sneered inwardly when they saw this. It was obvious that Huang Fuyu, the acknowledged number 1 genius of the Xianyuan 8 clans, had fallen out with Lei Yunzi. As a result, the Xianyuan 8 clans would split, and the foreign sects would be the ultimate beneficiaries. Even Yi Chen was a little surprised. In his memory, all of the Xianyuan 8 races were selfish beings, but Lei Yunzi had refreshed his understanding of them over and over again. "Good, very good." The heavenly venerable lord of absolute beginning laughed thrice and looked at Yi Chen again. "Junior, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the Emperor's seal, cripple your cultivation base, kneel down and surrender, and I'll leave your corpse intact." Boom! Along with his words, the silent space began to boil as incorporeal killing intent engulfed everything, as if they wanted to destroy the heavens and earth. Everyone's hearts tightened. Was a great battle finally going to break out? Yi Chen was indifferent when faced with such a scene. Instead, he turned to look at Feng Wuxie. Brother Feng, what day is it today? Feng Wuxie was slightly stunned. Today is the 10th day of the 7th month on the lunar calendar. Why? The 10th day of the 7th month on the lunar calendar. Yi Chen's eyes flashed. It's a great omen today. It's a good time to kill. The primordial heavenly venerable's gaze was cold. How dare you boast shamelessly when you're about to die? Remember, the person who killed you is the primordial heavenly venerable. With that, he took a step forward and waved his sleeve. Rumble! A black dragon that looked like a bolt of black lightning shot out from his sleeve. It then expanded to dozens of meters and charged at Yi Chen with a destructive aura. Under this attack, heaven and earth rumbled like ghosts wailing and wolves howling. It was as if the world had turned upside down, causing many people's scalps to go numb. Primordial battle technique. Seeing that, the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan's pupils constricted. I didn't expect old man Taichu to use this primordial battle technique. Rumor has it that this battle technique was created by a heaven illuminator. Once this battle technique is used, even gods and ghosts will have to retreat. Senior Yi. Fang Ziyue, who was trapped, roared in his heart. To him, even if Yi Chen had stepped into the void refinement stage, how could he compare to the primordial heavenly venerable, who had been famous for many years? What a pity! Lei Yunzi shook his head slightly, feeling extremely regretful. Feng Wuxie revealed a serious expression and could not help but look at Yi Chen. Boom, boom, boom. Dark clouds rolled back, and a black dragon let out a godlike roar as it charged at Yi Chen. At that moment, the space collapsed. Suddenly, a white palm streaked across the sky. It was Yi Chen who had attacked. Then, under everyone's gaze, the black dragon that was shrouded in terrifying killing intent dissipated with a bang, turning into terrifying energy that swept in all directions. Interesting. Seeing this, the primordial heavenly venerable narrowed his eyes. So you've stepped into the void refinement stage. No wonder you dare to be so fearless. As soon as he said that, the world fell silent. Void refinement stage. Mad Southern Yi had actually stepped into the void refinement stage. Even the expressions of the Panwu immortal sect and the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan, and the others changed slightly. After all, the void refinement stage was not something that the soul formation stage could compare to. At this stage, he was almost on equal footing with them. Looks like this declining galaxy is still lucky to have given birth to a talent like you. No wonder you could destroy my primordial sect and kill countless of my disciples. The primordial heavenly venerable said sternly, but so what? You shouldn't have offended my primordial sect. We're from a foreign sect, yet a mere native like you dares to offend us. You deserve to die. Old man, you talk too much nonsense. Suddenly, a figure soared into the sky. In an instant, he soared into the sky, as if he was going to turn into an immortal god and soar into the sky. Yi Chen let out a long roar and attacked again. He slapped out with his palm that contained great terror. Heaven and earth were boiling, and the vast true origin energy pressure caused the space within a radius of 3,000 meters to crack. You're courting death. The primordial heavenly venerable snorted coldly, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a black divine Rui shuttle. The divine shuttle was dripping with pungent blood. It was like a ghost ship that had harvested countless lives. This was vile energy that had accumulated for countless years. End of this chapter. Chapter 1563. The Dark Soul Shuttle. The other void refinement stage powerhouses were shocked when they saw this scene. The old man, absolute beginning, is serious. Even Fang Tianqiu could not help but say, rumor has it that this Dark Soul Shuttle was refined by a ruthless person from the outer realm who killed his way into the Nether River. It's extremely ferocious. Smack! With a loud bang, the terrifying divine shuttle released an even stronger aura of death. Subsequently, it suppressed Yi Chen with a terrifying aura. Get lost. Yi Chen turned into a huge hand and slapped it. The golden light was like a rainbow, and it immediately sent the shuttle flying. The space collapsed on the spot. He actually sent the Dark Soul shuttle flying? At that moment, the other Void Refinement stage powerhouses were shocked, and disbelief flashed through their eyes. This kid is indeed monstrous. Someone could not help but admit. He can send the heavenly venerable Absolute Beginning's Dark Soul shuttle flying with his physical strength alone. This kind of strength is enough for us to take him seriously. Come back. The heavenly venerable Absolute Beginning's expression was as gloomy as water. With a summon, the Dark Soul shuttle landed in his hand again. Then, an endless aura of death erupted and attacked Yi Chen again. This time, he used his full strength. People at this level rarely fought to the death. Once they wanted to determine life and death, the process might only take a single thought. Old man Absolute Beginning, you keep calling me a native. Do you think that Earthlings are easy to bully? I've killed countless pieces of trash like you back then. Yi Chen's palm glowed. He took a step forward, and his 5 fingers instantly melted into a divine sword. He slashed forward. Zap! At that moment, everyone's eyes were stunned. A ray of sword chi tore through the air. The golden sword chi shone brilliantly, as if it could illuminate the mountains and rivers through the ages. It was incomparably resplendent. It was a godlike young man. He held a heavenly sword in his hand and slashed out with all his might. This was not a sword of the human world at all. It was more like a sword of an immortal. It should not exist in the human world at all. Lei Yunzi was stunned at first. Then, he seemed to have thought of something and muttered, Supreme Sword Intent, this is Supreme Sword Intent. I didn't expect that apart from cultivating both spells and martial arts, this kid's sword Dao is also unparalleled. Boom! As Yi Chen slashed with his sword, heaven and earth trembled at that moment. A wave that could destroy everything in the 3 realms and 6 paths spread out like a tide. This is bad. Sensing the might of that sword, the heavenly venerate of Taichu's expression changed slightly. He did not expect Yi Chen to possess such a terrifying sword Dao cultivation base. He roared and pushed his hands out. Clack! However, his soul treasure, the God Soul shuttle, exploded before that strike. It was like a knife cutting through tofu, and it transformed into countless fragments that dispersed into the surroundings. The sword light disappeared. Pfft! As blood splattered, 2 arms flew into the air. The Absolute Beginning Heavenly Sovereign vomited a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying backwards. If one took a closer look, they would discover that his arms had been forcefully severed, and the boiling blood that flowed out incinerated countless lives. And it was at this moment that the heavens and the earth fell into a deathly silence. Mad Southern Yi actually repelled the Heavenly Lord of Absolute Beginning? Countless people gasped. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. How is this possible? Huang Fu Yu blurted out subconsciously, his eyes filled with disbelief. The Heavenly Venerate of Absolute Beginning stared fixedly at Yi Chen. What sword is that? One strike, just one strike had almost killed him. At this moment, he didn't know why, but he actually felt a trace of a chill in his heart. How was this possible? This kid was just a native of Earth. Even if he was lucky enough to step into Void Refinement, how could he unleash such monstrous battle prowess? He roared maniacally in his heart. Of course, it's a sword that kills dogs. It specializes in killing arrogant, and illiterate foreign dogs like you. Yi Chen's gaze was deep, and his sword-like eyebrows reached his temples. From the beginning to the end, his expression was extremely calm. He took a step forward, and the space shattered directly. He suddenly attacked the Heavenly Venerate of Absolute Beginning like an ancient god walking in the mortal world. Die! The Heavenly Venerate of Absolute Beginning also went crazy, void-shattering primordial sword. Suddenly, a dazzling sword gleam that was as dazzling as a star shot out from the top of his head. The sword gleam slashed at Yi Chen's head with an aura that could destroy everything. Clang! Yi Chen resisted it with his physical body. With a flick of his finger, he sent the second primordial spirit treasure flying with 2 fingers, forcing the heavenly venerate of Absolute beginning to retreat again. After 2 primordial spirit treasures were destroyed consecutively, the heavenly venerate of Absolute beginning's mind had long been damaged. In addition to Yi Chen's imposing aura and unparalleled might, he had long lost his initial ambition. He was beaten back repeatedly and vomited blood. Everyone's hearts trembled as they watched this scene. Were they hallucinating? The ancestor of a sect, a void refinement old monster, a rare top-notch powerhouse in the foreign sects, was being beaten back repeatedly at this moment. Too powerful, this mad southern Yi is too powerful. Someone's lips trembled. A mere heavenly venerate of Absolute beginning is no match for him at all. It's hard to imagine that such a monster was born in this abandoned galaxy. Meanwhile, the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan, and the others watched this scene with solemn expressions. The heavenly venerate of Absolute beginning's battle prowess was not much different from theirs, but he was still forced to this point. If it were them, how good would it be? Boom! Yi Chen's right arm turned into a golden divine sword and cut off one of the heavenly venerate of Absolute beginning's legs. He said coldly, "Heavenly venerate of Absolute beginning, is this the pride you rely on? Aren't you quite capable? Aren't you looking down on cultivators from Earth? Today I'll give you the right to be arrogant." He walked through the shattered void, invincible and looking down on everything. The vast pressure almost suppressed the entire world. Boom! At that moment, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the side and charged at Yi Chen. It was as fast as lightning. It's the powerhouse of the Panwu immortal sect. He can't help but attack. Is this a 2-on-1 fight? Someone's body trembled. Mad Southern Yi die. An old man in a golden Taoist robe with a sage-like demeanor had a sea of divine consciousness that turned into a blood-colored ocean. He attacked Yi Chen with a surging divine consciousness. Yi Chen was fearless. He slammed his hand down and used his physical body to resist the terrifying divine consciousness attack. The blood-colored ocean was torn into pieces and dispersed. Blurred. The Panwu immortal sect powerhouse screamed and was sent flying. Defeated, the powerhouse of the Panwu immortal sect has also been defeated. Everyone was completely terrified. Clang! Suddenly, a dragon's roar shook the sky. A golden dragon spear pierced through the sky and slashed at Yi Chen with eternal light. The person from the great Jiang God dynasty has attacked. Someone shouted. However, before he could finish speaking, he saw the sky suddenly turn into a sea of fire. The temperature rose violently, as if heavenly fire was pouring down. Fang Tianqiu from the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce has also attacked. The people from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land have also attacked. Oh my God, 4 void refinement cultivators have attacked together just to deal with mad Southern Yi. It's a big scene, it's definitely a big scene. At that moment, the atmosphere between heaven and earth suddenly rose to the extreme. Countless people were so shocked that their scalps went numb. End of this chapter. Chapter 1564. In the vast demonic land, the eyes of the 2 figures, one big and one small, pierced through the endless darkness and reached outside the demonic land. The golden toad cursed angrily. These old farts are really shameless. They actually joined forces to bully him. I'm so angry. Second brother, if we don't make a move, that brat will really be in danger. Hearing this, a golden ape held a large stick and said silently, Boss said that this is that person's calamity and also our test for him. If he can pass the test, perhaps. Outside the boiling desolate god's tomb, heaven and earth shook. 4 figures that were as vast as the sea covered heaven and earth one after another. They attacked Yi Chen with monstrous killing intent. 4 peerless killing intent shook heaven and earth. It was the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan, Fang Tianqiu of the Heaven Essence Chamber of Commerce, and the Heavenly Jade Holy Land. At this moment the entire world was in an uproar. The heavenly venerable Taishu had been defeated. The powerhouse of the Panwu immortal sect had also been defeated. In the end, he even forced the remaining void refinement old monsters to join forces and attack. Prior to this, the person who had created this scene was merely a native cultivator at the pinnacle of the soul formation stage on Earth. Who would have thought that this would happen? This is a grand scene, a grand scene. Someone was shocked to death, regardless of whether this mad Southern Yi lives or dies. His name has completely shaken the Yin ruins and even spread to the outer realm. Mad Southern Yi, don't blame us for bullying you with numbers today. Jiang Hongyuan held a golden dragon spear in his hand. The resplendent and terrifying emperor aura almost covered the world, making him look like an ancient emperor descending to the mortal world. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too arrogant and condescending. If one took a closer look, they would realize that there was a hint of regret and fear in his eyes when he looked at Yi Chen. As long as he was given time, he would definitely become a heaven illuminator. He was almost certain. If he had known that Yi Chen was so monstrous, how could the great Jiang God dynasty have gotten involved in this? In the end, they had offended someone who was about to become an emperor? If you want to fight, then let's fight. There's no need to be noisy. Facing the 4 void refinement stage powerhouses who were attacking him together, Yi Chen stepped into the air. His black robe fluttered and he looked heroic. His eyes were as calm and deep as the galaxy. I'll kill all of you dogs from the outer realm today. Shameless boasting. Jiang Hongyuan shouted coldly, soul-absorbing Tyrannosaurus spear. With a light shake of his hand, the dragon's spear immediately turned into an extremely ferocious dragon shadow. It shattered the sky and charged at Yi Chen. A mid-grade Dao artifact. Many people were shocked when they saw this. Cultivators at the void training stage could fuse weapons into their divine souls and refine them. These weapons were called primordial spirit treasures or Dao artifact. Dao artifacts were further divided into low-grade Dao artifacts, mid-grade Dao artifacts, high-grade Dao artifacts, and peerless Dao artifacts. Mad Southern Yi, it's not too late for you to submit now. Jiang Hongyuan's killing intent surged like water. Ants! Yi Chen's eyes remained calm as he lifted his finger and pointed forward lightly. Jiang Hongyuan sneered when he saw that. The soul-absorbing Tyrannosaurus spear was a mid-grade Dao artifact. It was condensed from an ancestral dragon vein of the great Jiang God dynasty. It suppressed luck and was invincible in the world. Mad Southern Yi actually pointed with his finger. He was really extremely confident in his physical body. Roar! The dragon shadow that covered the sky roared and charged at Yi Chen with great terror. Yi Chen's expression remained the same. He pointed his finger gently and landed on the dragon's shadow at a steady pace. At the next moment, Jiang Hongyuan's smile froze. Boom! When the dragon shadow that was transformed from his mid-grade Dao artifact was less than 3 meters away from Yi Chen, it stopped abruptly. Then, it let out a sorrowful roar as it rapidly collapsed from the dragon's tail to the dragon's head. Blurred. Jiang Hongyuan spat a mouthful of blood and retreated frantically. His eyes were filled with shock. How is this possible? How is this possible? That was his mid-grade Dao artifact. Any holy land could only produce a few of such treasures. He did not expect Yi Chen to break it with a single finger. At that moment, everyone in the world was shocked. A finger! The mid-grade Dao artifact shattered, and the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty was severely injured. This is too terrifying. This mad Southern Yi is too terrifying. Could he be the reincarnation of the great Emperor Xianyuan? In an instant, an earth-shattering sound erupted in the world again. Seeing Yi Chen's shocking combat ability, even Feng Tianqiu and the Void Refinement stage powerhouses from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land felt a chill in their hearts. He had defeated 3 Void Refinement stage powerhouses by himself. He could be said to be the reincarnation of the god of war. It was truly unwise for them to form enmity with such a person. Everyone, don't panic. At the critical moment, the Heavenly Venerable of Absolute Beginning, who had recovered, said with a pale face, "This brat has just broken through, and his cultivation base is unstable. He must have used some kind of secret technique to unleash his potential. As long as we work together, we will definitely be able to kill him. Don't forget that we have already formed a grudge with this brat. If we allow him to continue growing, it will be our doomsday." The Heavenly Venerable of Absolute Beginning roared. He was truly afraid. The many techniques that Yi Chen had displayed had shattered his confidence one by one, and the speed at which Yi Chen was growing made his scalp tingle. Feng Tianqiu and the woman from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land looked at each other, and they immediately saw the shocking killing intent in each other's eyes. Kill. Feng Tianqiu took a step forward and finally attacked. The woman from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land followed closely behind. Kill, end the hope of Earth. The Heavenly Venerable of Absolute Beginning rushed out, followed by the powerhouse of the Panwu Immortal Sect, the third prince of the great Jiang God dynasty, Jiang Hongyuan. At that moment, the 5 Void Refinement stage powerhouses joined forces completely. They unleashed all the inheritances they had learned and swore to kill Yi Chen on the spot. The heavens and earth were silent. Everyone stared blankly at this scene. That skinny figure had actually reached such a level. He was fighting the leaders of the 5 Holy Lands by himself. Who could do that? At that moment, many people from the outer world felt admiration for Yi Chen. It was because Yi Chen's peerless demeanor was unparalleled. Lei Yunzi's face twitched as he watched this scene. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath in, and took a step forward. "You want to save Yi?" Huang Fuyu snorted coldly. "Don't forget, if you make a move, it'll be equivalent to drawing the wrath of the 8 Xianyuan clans. It doesn't matter if you die, but don't implicate us." "This brat is too amazing," Lei Yunzi's body trembled as he said in pain. "He's the hope of China. I can't bear to watch him die." At that moment, an extremely indifferent voice resounded from the void. "If you make a move, your Lei family will be destroyed." As soon as this voice fell, everyone in the world looked over, including the Heavenly Venerable of Absolute Beginning and the others. End of this chapter. Chapter 1565. At that moment, a huge old figure appeared in the air and transformed into an old man who landed in this world filled with killing intent. It's the patriarch of the Gu family from the 8 Xianyuan clans. When they saw the old man's face clearly, everyone was shocked. At that moment, fear flashed through the eyes of the Heavenly Venerable of Absolute Beginning and the rest. Jiang Hongyuan stood proudly with the dragon spear in his hand. "Gu Gui, is your Gu family going to participate in our battle and help Mad Southern Yi?" What no one saw was that with the appearance of the Gu family's patriarch, a fierce smile appeared on Huang Fuyu's face. Lei Yunzi, on the other hand, smiled bitterly. Facing his question, the Gu family's patriarch glanced at Yi Chen expressionlessly. He then landed next to Lei Yunzi and looked straight at Huang Fuyu with his turbid eyes. "Where's the Emperor's seal?" "It's on him." Huang Fuyu pointed at Yi Chen. Under everyone's gaze, the Gu family's patriarch looked at Yi Chen coldly. "Junior, hand over the Emperor's seal. I'll protect you from death and restore your Chinese nationality." Yi Chen said calmly, "What if I don't hand it over?" The Gu family's patriarch narrowed his eyes and said sinisterly, "If you don't hand it over, then I'll have no choice but to help China eliminate a traitor like you." Yi Chen sneered and said, "Then do it. Old man, I've been waiting for you for a long time." Stubborn. The Gu family's patriarch shouted and took a step forward, as if he wanted to join the grand battle. Gu Goe, you're too presumptuous. At that moment, a loud roar rang out, and a figure blocked the Gu family's patriarch. It was Lei Yunzi. The Gu family's patriarch said coldly, "Old Lei, are you trying to stop me? Don't forget, you're also a member of the 8 Xianyuan clans. You know the importance of the Emperor's seal better than I do." "I'm indeed a member of the 8 Xianyuan clans." Meeting his gaze, Lei Yunzi said in a deep voice, "However, the 8 Xianyuan clans are also Chinese. Your actions today are equivalent to destroying the future hope of China." "Is this brat the hope of China?" The patriarch of the Gu family glanced at Yi Chen coldly and said coldly, "The 8 clans of Xianyuan are the hope of China. Only when the 8 clans of Xianyuan prosper can we strengthen China." Lei Yunzi said, "You are not allowed to fight today." At this moment, another figure shook the sky, and then an old man with a sword in hand flew over. "Old Lei, are you rebelling against my Xianyuan 8 clans?" As soon as the sword-wielding elder appeared, a shocking sword intent spread out, as if the world had become a world of swords. "It's the old ancestor of the Huangfu clan of the Xianyuan 8 clans," someone exclaimed. Lei Yunzi said in a pained voice, "Are you going to go crazy with the Gu family, Huangfu geezer? Don't forget the duty of the Xianyuan 8 families. If you make a move today, you will definitely die." The patriarch of the Huangfu family's expression was indifferent as he said to the patriarch of the Gu family, "Stop him. I'll help fellow cultivator Absolute Beginning, and the rest eliminate the traitors of China." With that, he turned into a sword ray and landed next to the heavenly venerate of Absolute Beginning and the rest. He looked at Yi Chen expressionlessly and said, "Fellow cultivators, my goal today is the same as yours. There's no need to guard against me." Hearing that, the heavenly venerate of Absolute Beginning was the first to laugh. He looked at Yi Chen and said mockingly, "Mad Southern Yi, did you see that? Not only us but even your own people in China want you dead. Too many people want you dead." "Old Huangfu." Yi Chen suddenly smiled and looked at the patriarch of Huangfu. "You keep saying that I'm a traitor of China. May I ask, have I done anything against China?" The patriarch of Huangfu said blankly, "You don't respect the orders of the 8 clans of Xianyuan. You're a traitor." "Ah!" Yi Chen laughed out loud as his black hair danced in the wind. "Do you think the 8 clans of Xianyuan represent China? You're just 8 selfish existences." B***** attack. The patriarch of Huangfu roared furiously. A shocking sword gleam shot into the sky from his body, tearing through the clouds and cutting through the void. The sword intent suppressed all directions. "Kill!" The heavenly venerate of Absolute Beginning's killing intent surged. At the next moment, the 6 void refinement stage powerhouses attacked together. Terrifying pressure and invisible killing intent enveloped the entire world. It was as if it penetrated deep into one's bones, causing everyone to tremble. "What a pity. Looks like Mad Southern Yi is going to die today." Someone sighed in his heart as if it was a pity. 6 void refinement stage powerhouses joining forces. Such a lineup has never been seen in the Yin ruins. No matter how peerless Mad Southern Yi is, it's difficult for him to resist. If such a person continues to grow, he will definitely become a heaven illuminator in the future. Looks like the heavens want to destroy Earth's hope. Someone said resentfully, "It's good that such a person dies. It'll let the natives of this world know that the supreme sects of the outer realm are inviolable." Lei Yunzi closed his eyes in despair. "Huangfu," you sneered, "Old Lei, take a good look. The hope of China that you value is destined to die. Only I'm China's hope." His eyes were filled with madness as if he could see Yi Chen's bloody end. "Very good, very good." Yi Chen suddenly let out a long roar like a demon. "I'd rather betray the world than let the world betray me. You're forcing me to start a massacre." Then, he overlapped his hands, and a strange seal circled around his fingertips. Under everyone's gaze, 2 balls of black and white energy condensed between his palms. The black and white intersected. It was the yin and yang energy and the taiji pattern. What is he doing? Everyone could not help but focus when they saw that. Even the heavenly venerable of absolute beginning and the rest stopped subconsciously. They stared fixedly at this scene. Their intuition told them that this change in seal seemed to be some kind of divinity. Only the smile on Yi Wushuang's lips grew brighter. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the taiji pattern in Yi Chen's hand suddenly expanded. Then, it turned into two streams of black energy that spun rapidly beside him. In an instant, heaven and earth shook as if heaven and earth had been turned upside down. At that moment, endless spiritual energy of heaven and earth moved toward him crazily. It covered the sky and earth, drowning him completely. Yi Chen stood with his head held high. He absorbed spiritual energy from all directions and devoured the essence of the sun and moon. Meanwhile, the two streams of black and white energy beside him began to grow violently. Under everyone's gaze, two figures suddenly walked out of Yi Chen's body. One of them was dressed in white, while the other was dressed in black. The most terrifying thing was that the two figures were exactly the same as Yi Chen in terms of appearance and height. They were like twins. Among them, the green-robed Yi Chen had a cold gaze. The white-robed Yi Chen looked like an immortal with outstanding grace. The black-robed Yi Chen's demonic energy surged. He was like the reincarnation of the demon lord. The three Yi Chen stood side by side. Each of them had a different temperament. Three terrifying auras shrouded the surroundings, making one's heart palpitate. End of this chapter.